Ciao Bella. Welcome to another episode of A Taboo Life, where everyone has a story to tell. I'm your host, Drew Franks, or Frank for short, and I want to thank you guys again for listening. A Taboo Life is the idea that everyone has a story to tell, and maybe we should sit down and listen to these stories. From that quiet neighbor across the street who you barely say hi to that cute coworker at work that you still don't have the balls to ask out, to that really nice older woman at the checkout line who has a Grateful Dead tattoo on her wrist, and to that creepy guy at the gym who is checking you out right now as you listen to this. They all have stories to tell, and maybe we should sit down and listen to them. Go check out the website, ataboolife.com, where you could check out the other podcast episodes, short stories I've written, books I've written, and articles, very clever articles, if I say so myself. Seems like the most popular one I've written on there is my article on the Me Too movement from a male's perspective, and why marijuana should be legalized and cops should use it. So check out the articles on the website, ataboolife.com. Today's guest is Mr. Kurt Lynch. I am very excited about this episode. It was a great interview. The way we met was I need to find a specific nut for my motorcycle. It was for the battery to keep the cable connected to the battery. He gave me the boat basically for free. All he asked for was a beer in return. The next week I rode over there on my bike, gave him a beer, talked to him, and thought, man, this guy looks interesting, and I was right, he was very interesting. So I'm very glad we did this interview. He is working on doing something very phenomenal at Jack's Beach. He owns a motorcycle shop there, and he is about to convert it into a very unique and eccentric, a little eccentric, but a good eccentric motorcycle bar, motorcycle themed bar that's going to be a venue and a restaurant. You could check out the pictures I've taken on the website at ataboolife.com under the podcast link, and click on this episode so you could look at the pictures. But this is a man who's about to accomplish his dream, and he's done a lot in his life before this too. He was a motocross competitor back in his youth. He is a business owner. He owned, I think, 3 businesses successfully. He survived the recession, and he is a father and grandfather, and a very sage and wise man. Sage and wise man. I am going to use that. Just listen to this interview. Great interview. He has a lot to say, and he has lived a very interesting life. So here's Mr. Kurt Lynch, and enjoy it. Good. All right. Well, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, my name is Kurt Lynch.
Kurt Lynch. And tell us about what you own, because you own a pretty cool business. Or what's going to turn into. That's why it's going to be really cool.
Well, I've been in and out of the motorcycle industry since I was 15, but the past 20 years I've been at the same location. And the industry kind of fell off after the recession in 2008. So I've been staying alive, but since 2006, maybe even 2005, I had this dream about taking part of the building and turning it into a motorcycle themed restaurant and bar. And so far I survived the economy, but now I'm out of money. So, but I'm still trying to finish this project. So it's, in some respects, it's kind of overwhelming just to finish this thing because it's 7,000 square feet. But right now I can see the finish line, and I'll hopefully have it done within the next 6 months, I hope, at the latest. But it's quite unique. It's just I put a lot of my heart and soul, my artistic abilities into it. So it's not like a normal build out of a restaurant because everything's like basically handmade and just impressions I get in my head, and I go, man, this is it. You know, this will look cool. And so I'm constantly changing things and designing things, and I'm trying to do everything out of repurposed materials. Mainly, a lot of them are motorcycle parts or a few car parts or just stuff I find on the beach, or friends of mine just say, hey, man, there's a big log over there off the side of that road. You ought to get it. And I look at it, and it might be like a piece of cypress, and we'll get it and, use that and incorporate it because basically I'm not spending any money.
Yeah.
And then the upstairs bar, we built that with wood from the past 2 hurricanes. So the one entire bar, except for the top, is all built out of reclaimed hurricane wood from Hurricane Matthew, which is pretty unique.
Yeah.
So it's just, like I said, I just try to find things, and I look at it, and the light bulb goes off, and then I know where I can place it, where it's going to look good in my mind. So
yeah,
that's how it all kind of came together. It's just a buddy of mine had said there's a guy in South Carolina had a repair shop like ours, and he's in a strip mall, and he rented a building next door and opened up a motorcycle bar, but just kind of threw it together for bike nights.
Yeah. And
it took off. And I said, shit, I could do something like that because my building's big enough. And
yeah, it's pretty big. Like, just to let you guys know, his bike shop, he owns a pretty big motorcycle shop and a lot of land in the back too. He's in Atlantic Beach area of Jacksonville.
Yep. Yeah, Atlantic Beach.
Yeah, Atlantic Beach. And his bar, his plans, what he showed me and gave me a little tour yesterday. Like, it's going to be a big deal once it's open because it's actually something original. If you live in Jacksonville or ever been to the Jacksonville Beach area, yeah, they have nice bars and restaurants, but they're all kind of generic. What your plan is something really just original, especially for this area of Jacksonville.
Yes, basically all hand built, and my son and I, he helps me a lot because I'll come up with a plan on designing something big like this one coffee bar downstairs, and we spent.
It's a nice looking bar too.
I bet it took us 3 months to build that. The thought process, and then actually building it, and just a lot of labor of love. And then same thing with the upstairs bar. I mean, that one, it's just, I wanted to do an L bar. I had thought of like 30 different shapes of bars. And then for the usage and the flow of customers and, the flow of your staff, what's going to work good and be also appealing and have an area where people can congregate and feel comfortable, and that's the whole thing, is making people feel like they're at home. But there's so much to look at with all the artifacts on the walls and on the, painted the floors with artwork. And I mean, every time you turn around, you see something different that you didn't notice the time you were here before.
Yeah.
You notice something new every time you come in. And that's kind of interesting because, when I sit there and I do these pieces, it's, I don't know where it comes from. It just hits me, like someone he's talking to me almost, but they're not. And all of a sudden, damn, I can use this over here. And like people are like, how do you come up with that? I go, I don't know. It just comes out of my head. I look at something and I see how I can use it, and I try to, like I say, repurpose things.
Yeah.
So it's not, none of the stuff is store-bought at all, and like I said, it's usually stuff that people are throwing away or we're getting ready to scrap it. Instead of scrap it, I'll save it and use it for later. A funny story because
I want to clarify this. Like the stuff he's getting is not junk either. This is like legit, like rustic or retro motorcycle parts, engine parts, car parts, and he's just repurposing it to make it into like a restaurant. Like for example, tell us about the limo in the back. The
limo, yeah, that goes way back. That's probably. I'm trying to think what year that was. It's probably 1986 or 87. I bought that car, and it was just a regular Rolls Royce sedan or Bentley, and I had built another limo before that, and that's kind of where I got in the limo business. I built a limo just for the heck of it. And next thing I know, people are like, you ought to start a limo business. I said, nah, that's just. Then next thing I know, it's like I'm making I rented it out a few times and I was making some decent money. I'm thinking, well, this isn't a bad gig. So then I bought the Rolls and stretched it out, but, got it, I think it's a 100-inch stretch. Got it all the way built, but I never finished putting the interior in it. And then now it's been, like I said, it's just been sitting. So we're going to cut it in half and use it for our dining area in the back lot. And we're going to do landscaping all the way around it. And then we're going to paint it like a hippie mobile, kind of like John Lennon had one that he had painted up that looked pretty cool. So I don't know if we're going to mock his Rolls, but I think we'll do something different. But a lot of things I do around here, I try to incorporate my artwork with kind of like charity events, is like to promote things for local people, trying to help them out. And I've reached out to a few of the organizations, and everybody's, they're just waiting for me to open so we can start holding events, which is kind of cool. Like our floor that we're doing the interview in right now, I was like, I wanted to do some artwork on the walls, but, that's like retail, or I've got motorcycles hanging on the wall. And I said, you know what? I'm going to paint the floors. So I came up with some designs, what I wanted to do, some other artists and just things I threw in there. And one day I just went and did it. I just started painting, prepping the floors, put down the base coat. And then after the base coat, I just started painting, and I sketched everything out. And then I invited my daughter and a few friends to come in and start coloring. And they're like, well, I don't know what to do. I go, well, just grab some paint and color in, like you got a book, a coloring book, and you got numbers. Well, you can paint whatever number you want, whatever color you want, just go for it. So it's kind of funny because my granddaughter did some, and my daughter and two other friends came over, and we're just sitting here for a couple of nights, just in days, just filling in the colors, and then I clear coat everything.
Yeah, I noticed it when I was doing the setup for the equipment. It's looking down. It's a very it gives it like a really homey feel. Like feels like home for some reason. I was looking on the floor like, oh, it's nice.
Well, that's what that word over there is Swedish for. It's like welcome home is what it says in Swedish, which is pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna butcher this. Welcome.
Yep.
Welcome basically sounds like welcome, but welcome.
Yeah, like welcome home.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. So we always come up with like the 5 senses over there. There's actually 6 because I drew out 5 and I came up with a 6. I just kept the 5 senses and came up with a 6.
Tasty 69.
And then below you, there's a bunch more. I mean, I got stuff everywhere that's even covered up.
Yeah, be careful when you move your head because then the sound goes that way and the mic doesn't pick it up. But
So anyways, here's a funny story. So in the city of Atlantic Beach, they've got a gal, Debbie, and she I'm trying to think of what they call it, where they come in there, and if you have like a junk car outside, they'll write you up. So she comes in there, and I've got a bunch of, parts, just scrap frames and motors and all kinds of stuff in the back, and it's behind the fence, like you really can't see it. So she comes in, and she's going to write me up on it. And this is like probably 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I said, no, that's artwork. And she starts laughing. She goes, no, it's junk. I go, in your mind, it's junk. To me, that's artwork. I mean, that's great shit. And she's like, you got to get rid of it. And then I sat her down and showed her some of the stuff that we were building. And she goes, you're really going to do this, aren't you? I go, yeah. I said, all that stuff. I said, I'm not going to use it all, but probably half of it I'm going to use, and then I'll just scrap the stuff I'm not going to use.
Yeah.
And so finally she just gave up and just says, well, just kind of covered or something. I said, well, no one can see back here. I don't know who's complaining. Are the neighbors looking over the fence,
I mean, what neighbors do you have besides like a business?
Right.
Like you're in a business area.
Yeah, so finally she just kind of gave up. But she stops in every now and then just to look around, and she's totally amazed at what we've done with our scrap.
I know, it looks pretty good in here. So how did you get into biking?
In a motorcycle?
Motorcycle. I'm sorry, motorcycle.
I've always had a passion. As a little kid, I would, I was probably like 12, and I wanted a mini bike. My dad would never buy me one. So one time we were on summer vacation, and they were having a party where my dad used to work, and there's a mini bike. Dude, I would not get off that thing the whole day. There's like kids yelling at me, and I just ride. And finally, my dad goes, "You got to get off of it, Kurt. You got to let these other kids ride." And I'd like pout, And so next time it was my turn, I'd jump on it, and that was pretty addictive at that point in my life. I realized that, I wanted a mini bike, and then from that it developed into a motorcycle. So my dad had a friend that had died, when he was like in his mid-20s on a motorcycle. Mm-hmm. So I imagine that was back in the, early 40s or late 30s. And, he would not let me have one. So I was like 15 and...
You need Kurt? Yeah, your friend needs you.
20 more and put 40. I already wrote it down, 40 on the bank.
Okay. There you go.
The business owner doing some business.
So I started hanging out with a couple of my buddies that had bikes, and I'd always, I was probably more like 12, 13, 14, 15. When I was 15, I had the bug really bad. So a buddy of mine, him and I bought this old Suzuki Savage, and we went partners on it, but I couldn't keep it at my house because my dad would freak out. So one day I buy this old Harley, and by myself. It was a 1945 flathead military bike.
Oh, those are sexy.
Yeah, so I drag it home and I put it in the basement, and my dad's like trying to kick me out of the house. My mom goes, "He's 15, you can't kick him out of the house." So finally he just kind of gave up because it was all in pieces. So I had built that bike as a chopper, and I spent hours. I squared the frame off with Bondo, and I never painted before. I was learning how to paint out of spray cans and stuff. So I bought a coffin gas tank, squared the frame, and then I did this paint job on it. It was like red and gold, and it really came out really good for some kid that had no clue what I was doing. And my friends would come over just freaking out, like, "Dude, this thing's crazy." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's badass." And at that age, I had the vision of kind of like Easy Rider. That movie wasn't even out yet. And I just wanted to grow my hair long, have, ride my Harley across the country.
Like Dennis Hopper?
Right, like Dennis Hopper, exactly. So, I used to look at motorcycle magazines, and, just, like I said, I had the bug bad. So my other buddy comes over, and he had just turned 16, and he had his uncle's DT Yamaha 175. And behind our house, we had this big field. So Mike goes, "Hey, Kurt, you want to ride this?" I go, "Heck yeah." So I took it for a ride, and I was like, it's the first time I rode a real dirt bike. Really had shitty suspension, but back in that days, that was like the bomb to have. So I'm riding that thing through the fields, and I'm having the time of my life. The next day, I'm talking to my girlfriend, And I said, hey, your buddy, I lived in Pennsylvania at the time in Carlisle, and she was from Washington, D.C., and she had one of her friends come up here, and her friend and her brother fell in love with that Harley. I said, call them up and tell them it's for sale. Because I had changed my vision of being Dennis Hopper to being a famous motocross rider back in, I think that was like 1960, no, it's 1970, 1970, 71. So I ended up selling the bike to him. The first thing I went out and bought myself was a Yamaha dirt bike. And then from that point on, it was all over, I went from 2 Yamahas to a Penton 125. Then I think I got a CZ 250. These are motocross bikes. And then from that, I went to a Husky 250 and 360 and started racing. And once I started racing, I mean, it was all over. It was just so much fun.
And you did the courses, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did the series. It was Pennsylvania and Ohio, New York. That area had some great riders back in that era. I mean, everybody was, I don't know, it was such a unique time of motorcycle racing because motocross was just developing. Thorsten Hahn had introduced motocross to the United States, I think it was like 1967 or 68. And, motocross was just coming alive at that time when I had started. So you go to a pro race, and the first pro race I went to was at Unadilla, New York. And it was pretty crazy because all the Europeans would just be so much faster than the Americans because, they have been doing it for years. And it was just really remarkable to see how disciplined the Europeans were and how well they rode compared to Americans. And a lot of the Americans that my buddies would try to qualify for the pro races, and they couldn't even come close. So there's only like a handful of Americans back then that were really qualified to run the GP class back in that era. So it was pretty neat times to be in that era, to watch motocross develop over the years. And that nowadays it's just like insane because the kids that ride today have such a, the motorcycles are better, their training, their habits, everything is so professional at a young level, where back when it was me, you just jumped on a bike and started riding and just asked questions, and people would tell you like, okay, this is what you need to do. You're kind of screwing this up. You need to, you need to breathe for one thing, you need to stand up more, you need to brake harder, but now it's so technical. Like, it's like where your body position is. And, back then we had, 3.5, 4 inches of suspension in the rear and 5 to 6 inches in the front. And now they got, over 13 inches front and rear. And then the power is just like insane. Like a few years back, I've got these vintage bikes hanging up here. My buddies were trying to get me to race them, so I bought a couple of vintage bikes and, did a couple laps, and I said, this is insane, because I've been riding late model bikes and haven't ridden a vintage bike with 4 inches of suspension in years, and it about killed me. And I get off the bike, and I'm like, how in the hell did I ever ride these things that fast? I don't know how I did it, but then I started realizing, I was only like in my, teens and, early 20s, and that made a big difference why I could go fast. But what a brutal ride. It's just no comparison. It's like getting on a what is it, the Kenny Roberts special, or like a DT 350 Yamaha street bike and trying to ride it, and then you get on a late model bike and there's like no comparison. The technology is just
Is that your phone or?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that coming from your pocket or?
No, it's actually sitting over there.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried about it.
So, right, yeah. What you were saying about the...
Well, just the whole thing about racing, it's just like, gets in your blood. So I had quit for years. I did it when I was in high school, and then I went to college, so I quit while I was in college. And this is kind of a funny story. So my brother and I were going to college to take over my dad's business, which was a Volkswagen dealership in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Ooh. So we're going to college, and I'm studying my ass off, and, because, I want to succeed at it. And so I'm in school for a year, and then my dad goes, hey, we're going to go down to Florida. You want to come down there for your spring break? And my brother and I are like, hell yeah, we want to go. So we come down to Florida, and we're like looking at all the girls. They got beautiful bodies. We're like, man, this beats that.
What part of Florida was it? Was it Miami or
no? Here.
Oh, Jacksonville.
Yeah,
okay.
Ponte Vedra.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, South Ponte Vedra. So it's like a little cottage. It's like a 3-bedroom. I mean, the 2 bedrooms are like the sizes of today's closets. So we're hanging out on the beach, having the time of our life, and like the third day we're down there, my parents go, hey, tonight at the family table we want to have a talk. And that's normally where we had our talks, and around the dining room table, mm-hmm. After dinner. So we finished dinner, and my mom's talking, and she goes, well, your dad and I decided to sell the dealership.
Oh, wow.
And my brother and I just look at each other like, holy shit, what are we going to do now? So, we're kind of in shock. So we go back to our rooms. My brother goes, hey, bro, what are you going to do? I said, dude, I'm going to quit college and race motocross professionally. He goes, yeah, man, that's awesome. So the next night, we're sitting at the dining room table, and my mom asked us, what our thoughts were. So I told her, I said, yeah, I'm going to quit college and race motocross. And her jaw dropped. My dad started yelling at me. I said, you can't do that. I'm not going to take over the dealership. My mom said, do what I want to do in my life, because it's not like I can go out and open up a Volkswagen franchise when I graduate from college. Yeah. That's just not going to happen. So a couple of days go by, and we're sitting at the dining room table, and my dad wouldn't even talk. My mom goes, well, your father and I talked about what you want to do, and we decided that we're going to support you 100%. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, heck yeah. And then she goes, but not financially.
What the fuck?
Thinking that I would just go back to college. I said,
not
yeah,
financially.
I'm gonna race. So it was me and a couple of my buddies that we raced the amateur races together. And so we started doing the money races. And, we had to, place in the top 3 to earn money. So to me, it was like, this is my choice of earning a living. And, it was tough. So, and back in that era, we were going through another recession back in, I think it was 1975. 74, 75. So it's hard to get a job. So basically we were doing everything that we could, race wise. We traveled just to go to the money races because mm-hmm. they'd have these outlaw races, and they would pay more money than going to an AMA race. So we'd always hit the outlaw races instead of earning points. We would just go for making money because we had no other choice. So it was a lot of fun. That whole, I did it for 2 years on the road, and then I broke my femur. Ooh. And then I came to the realization, I think I was 22 at the time. I said, well, I need to probably quit and get a real job.
How'd you break your femur?
I was racing down in St. Petersburg. It was a couple weeks before the Winter Ams, which was a big Florida Series race. They had mm-hmm. Europeans fly over here. And I was chasing this guy down, Kippy Pierce, and I'm on a newer 125 Husqvarna, and he was on the Elsinore 125, which was twice as fast as the Husky. And I'd be going around a turn, I'd be pushing with my feet, trying to go faster. Mm-hmm. And I got a bad start, and I finally caught him, and I was taking this left-hander sweeper, and I was sliding the bike through the turn, standing on the foot pegs, and there's a little double jump. Well, I could carry my speed if I didn't let off the throttle. Well, when I hit the first jump, the rear wheel spun out a little bit, so the bike went completely sideways. And when I hit the second jump, I hit it sideways. So it kind of catapulted me. And when I hit the seat, when the bike compressed fully, it just shot me straight in the air and I landed on the ground. So when I hit the ground, I blacked out. So the guy behind me, Bubba, came flying around there and he saw me laying in the middle of the track. He goes, I could have ran over your head or your legs.
Ooh.
So I decided to run over your legs. And I cussed him out. I said, you dumbass. I said, I'm Irish. I'm a hard head. You wouldn't hurt me, believe me. So, that, and then, that was pretty devastating because I didn't have money to recover and then get back into racing again. I just couldn't afford it. It was just, and then I tried to race, probably like 4 months afterwards, and I had kind of lost my edge, my thought process of like hitting some of these jumps. I would just hold it wide open and clear them. I'd get up to the face of the jump and I would just chop the throttle. Like I would like chicken out. I just didn't have that. I didn't have my gonads anymore. I lost them. So it was kind of sad.
Shit.
So after that, I got into the auto repair business because I knew how to do body work and mechanical work. So I worked at a Volkswagen dealer in Palaca for a while. Then I worked at one up here in Jacksonville, Tom Bush. Either place I lasted. The one in Palaca, that guy went out of business. And then Tom Bush, I worked there for about 6 months. Me and the service manager didn't get along too well. So the guy that had the body shop calls me up. He goes, hey, I'm starting a body shop in Jacksonville off of Park Street. So he goes, I want you to run the body shop. I said, sure. I said, $500 a week. And then Saturdays or any overtime, I want time and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I want you to hold that money for me for my vacations. My
the time and a half?
So I had, yeah. So
that's smart.
It was helping him out because he didn't have to pay me until I go on vacation. So I said, I want a vacation, 1 week vacation every 6 months. So the first vacation I come up, hands me my money, and go on my vacation, go back to work. 6 months goes by, I'm ready for my next vacation. I ask him for my money. He goes, I'm not giving you your money.
What?
And I go, do what? He goes, yeah. He goes, I can't afford it. And, it's just, I can't do it. And I said, well, that was our deal. He goes, yeah. I guess I'm not going to pay you. I said, okay. And I had saved enough money where I could do my vacation anyway. So went on my vacation with my girlfriend, came back. The day I came back, I called him, let him know I was in town. So I drove my van I was living in St. Augustine up to Jacksonville. I loaded all my tools. He goes, what are you doing? I said, dude, if you got my money, I'll stay here. But otherwise, I'm leaving. You can't do that. I go like, well, then you pay me. I'll stick around, no hard feelings, I know what it's like not to have money. So a few months goes by and he's like trying to paint cars himself. He's screwing them up and his son calls me and goes, hey, because Dad's screwing up all these cars he's painting. He goes, we really need you back. And I said, yeah. I said, I'll come back, but I'll just come back just to paint the cars. And I'll charge you, $35 for the first 3 cars each. And then I'll charge you $25 for the next 2 cars. And then anything after that would be $15 a car to spray them.
Yeah.
And he had a fit. But they would do is they'd line up like 8 to 10 cars. And I would make just as much money in one day as I would as a whole week. So I took that money to get my business started. So I would spend 1 day a week or sometimes 2 days a week in Jacksonville painting cars. And then I would go back down to St. Augustine and put that money and develop my business and get my shop going. So I was doing the same thing. I was doing mechanicals and doing body work at the same shop because I hired a couple of mechanics and then I would do, wherever they needed me. If I was, overwhelmed with mechanical work, then I would do that. And I've had some body jobs come in and I did some work for a couple of race teams. So I was fixing their cars that they were smashing and twice I went to the 24 hours of Daytona, which was a lot of fun as a kid, all expenses paid. And that was kind of cool. And then, wasn't long after that, I was getting back into like motorcycles again, and I didn't want to motocross anymore because it was just too hard on the body. So two of my buddies I used to motocross with were road racing. And so I had a couple street bikes. I had one old Ducati and a couple other guys. I told them I wanted to race, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll help you." So we built a race bike, and then I did several races, over the course of about 5 years. It wasn't like a big deal, but I was having fun doing it. And shortly after I got married, had kids, and the wife says, "No more racing." Well, I was doing a couple of laps, and one time my chain fell off. Going down a straightaway, on the infield at Daytona, and I'm getting ready to take this turn, and I rev the bike, and it's not going anywhere, and then all of a sudden I see my chain passing me. And I go, "Shit, that's my chain." So I had to pull off the track, and then back in those days, it's like they would pick you up in a pickup truck and take you back to the pits. Well, my wife didn't see me coming around for several laps. She thought I was dead, so it kind of freaked her out. So I quit for like several years, and then as our kids got older, I got them into dirt biking, and eventually when Palmer, my youngest son, came around, I was starting to get fat and overweight, and I figured, if I got back into racing, I'd have to lose weight and get back into training and, have more discipline. So ended up, him and I raced for almost 20 years, which was, awesome to do that with your kid. Then my oldest son, he ended up being getting into skateboarding, and surfing was his gig. I started him off on dirt bikes. And that's a funny story because he hadn't ridden in like probably 20 years. And we took him out to a place up in Georgia, in Durham Town Plantation. This place is like awesome. It's like for Georgia or the East Coast, it's kind of like a moto mecca, where they have all these trails. It's just really insane. So we took Jonathan up there and gave him a brand new dirt bike to ride, and my youngest son Palmer and I, we go out and we're hitting the trails, and we're going like really kind of not at all full speed, just a mellow pace. And we turn around, and there's Jonathan right behind us. And we stop like, "Dude, you're doing awesome. We thought you'd be way back there." Because now you guys are going a little bit slow. Can you step it up? We go, "Hell yeah." So we start buzzing through the woods. He hadn't ridden in years, and he's literally right behind us. I mean, and we're carrying a good pace because we're like what they call A riders. So you have A, B, and C. So we're, on the top of our game. And here's Jonathan right behind us the whole time. So we're like shocked. So, we rode all day. We had a blast. It was just fun to have him back out there. But, that area is like phenomenal for people to go out and take their families. It's very family oriented. They have camping, gun range, drag strips, They have the thing that shocked me the first time we went there, they have like trails at the main parking area. They have like 3 motocross tracks right in the vicinity. They have one for little kids and then 2 grown-up ones. And then they have the trails through the woods, which you cross the street. And I see this big number 4. It's like 2 4x8 sheets of plywood that were painted white with a big red number 4. And it had a little sign that says, "Enter here." I'm like, what the heck is this? So Palmer was with me. So I go in first and we hit it. And it's like a full-blown motocross track in the woods with trees all around you. I thought I was playing a video game. It's so cool. I was just like, this is amazing. So then we start riding some more and I see another one, like a big number 3. I'm like, no way. They had 3 motocross tracks out in the middle of the woods. So you're riding through the woods and hitting all these trails, and all of a sudden out of nowhere pops up a motocross track. And just really phenomenal. So that was pretty epic. The other neat thing that we did is when we were a KTM dealer, they every year they would introduce the new models, and they would have training, sales, marketing, mechanical training, and this is like a 2 or 3 day event they would have. And so the first 2 days was like, first day you get there, it was like an intro where, they fed you, had a big party, and then the next day you started your training. And then the third day, was the ride day to ride the new models. Now it's kind of like our vacation, because here you are, you're being treated like a king, because you're their ambassador. You're the one that sells the motorcycles for them, so they want you to ride the new bikes. So they gas them up, they feed you, and they take you to professional motocross tracks all around the country. So every year you're going to a new track. Everything's paid for, brand new bikes. Choose whatever bike you want to ride. They gas them up. You don't do anything. You just go out there and ride. So that's like what a fantastic weekend, So you're hanging out with a bunch of motorcycle people, riding brand new dirt bikes. And then, when they came out with their street lines, they would have street events. And then some of the places, they would have the following day, on a Monday, I believe it would be, or maybe a Tuesday, they would have a adventure ride if you want to spend an extra day there. And that was like really awesome, because they would take you out in all kinds of places. We were at Washougal, Washington, racing or riding around the motocross track, and then they did this the next day, an epic ride of a adventure ride, and we're going around Mount St. Helen. This is probably like 3 or 4 years after 5 years, who knows, after the volcano erupted.
Yeah.
And they had us on, Palmer was riding I think a 125, and I think I was on like a 450. And we're going up the side of volcano ash, and the path is like 1.5 feet, 2 feet wide, with a ledge going up to your left. So there's like a shoulder. And to your right, the trail guys go like, do not look down. Because if you look down, you're going to go down. Just look straight ahead. Because they go, if you fall, we're not coming to get you.
Oh my
because you're going to be a mile down there. And by the time you get down there, you're going to look like mincemeat. That's lava rock. And you and the motorcycle are just going to be shredded. So I told my son, I said, I want you behind me. He goes, why? Because I said, I don't want you in front of me looking back, because, you might freak out.
Yeah.
So, this thing's like, it felt like it was like 20 miles going up, because you're going up like probably on an 18-degree angle.
Mm-hmm.
And and then on the side of the hill, it's like a 45 degree. So like I said, if you go off, you're not coming back. And the whole time I'm like, wanting to look back to see if he's okay. It was just like weird, you're just like freaking out, like, okay, this is my kid, and then we had a guy in front of me, his tire went off the edge, he almost went over.
Oh my God.
Everybody like stopped, like waiting to see what's going to happen. And the guy, he got the bike back up on the trail and kept on going, but it was really sketchy. I was surprised that they even let us go up there,
Oh shit.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And then one incident we had, we're in Salt Lake City, and they had the road racing course out there, and they had just come out with they had the Super Duke, and then they had a couple of the Adventure 990s, the big bikes, and they just came out with a 1100 RCR, whatever, their race bike, and that bike's just like awesome. And they're telling everybody to be real careful, because they only had like a handful of them.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was standing in line to ride them. And here's all these Super Dukes. Nobody's riding them, because everyone wants to ride that, the RC8. So I rode the Super Dukes all day long, because you could ride as long as there's a bike available. So it's like 4 o'clock, getting ready to close it down. They go, who hasn't ridden the RC8? And I hold my hand up. And this other guy, there's like only one bike left to ride. And I got my hand up. This other guy to my right holds his hand up. And I look at him. I go, dude, I've seen you out there 3 times. Get out of here. That's bullshit. So they let me ride. And there's a guy in front of me. wasn't paying attention and crashed the bike. And they get the bike back up because he crashed it in the stones. That's like the runoff.
Yeah.
So if you lose the bike, you hit the stones. And they got the bike upright, and then they have like course workers that helped him. And the minute he gets back into the pit, he jumps off the bike and runs because he's so embarrassed. And so I told my rep, I said, that's the guy that crashed the bike. You need to check on him, make sure he's not hurt. He goes, yeah, no kidding. They had to chase the guy down, because he thought they were chasing him because he crashed the bike. But no, it's a liability issue. So it's kind of hysterical. So that was a lot of fun. But running a dealership's a lot of work. And when the recession hit, there's just like no money left.
This is back in 2008, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like 2008, things started going, like in August, it really started hitting.
Yeah, I was in...
The 09s were coming out, so we ordered some 09s. And, before I couldn't get enough bikes. I was selling like 80 to 90 bikes a year, and they would only allow me like 35 bikes. So I'd have to buy bikes from other dealers that,
wow.
It's, just weird how they do it. And for years, they did that to me. I'd always order like 80 bikes. They'd send me 35. So, 09, I ordered, I said, well, this is kind of crazy. So I just ordered like 60 bikes.
Yeah.
Well, they were wanting to send me 80.
What?
Yeah, because they had all these bikes that weren't selling.
Oh.
So then they're trying to load me up. And then that's when I realized it's time for me to
stop.
Yeah. Because, after 1 year that the bike sits on floor planning, you're paying 24% interest per year.
Oof.
So in 4 years, you basically bought the bike, but you still owe the original amount on it. Man. So we call that the first year is having a birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal is, if you're in business, is to pay the bike off so you're not paying 24% interest.
Yeah.
So I had a few bikes here that had already paid off. 08s and 09s are sitting here. Nothing's selling, so I called them up. I said, you need to, a few other incidents happened, and I don't want to really discuss it. But I told them, I said, it's time for you guys to pick up your bikes. I said, I'm done. And I couldn't even sell the bikes I had, so I started parting them out because they weren't selling.
Fuck. So were you able to kind of break even, or you were just going to debt?
Pardon?
Were you able to break even, or were you going into debt?
Some of the bikes I broke even, like parting them out, got like basically, my costs out of them, and some I didn't. But, that's just a part of business, They're not going to buy them back once you pay them off from your bikes.
Man.
So the ones that were floor planned, they took those back. And then they're supposed to buy your parts back, but they didn't want to buy my parts back, so I just gave up on them. I just got tired of hassling with them. So that's when I realized that, these franchises, I mean, it's really all about them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about anybody else. Yeah.
You take all the risk, basically.
Yeah. It was fun while it lasted. Like I said, we did a lot of racing and had a lot of fun, and, it was fun. So I'm not complaining one bit about it.
So how were you able to survive the recession?
We were at at one point, we probably had 9 employees, and then we dropped it down to 5, and then we dropped it down to basically, 2 mechanics, me and my son, so there's 4 of us. And then, things just kept on getting slower and slower. And we're just doing mainly service work and still selling a few bikes, but, the bike market still hasn't been where it should be. But, Harley's having a hard time. Everybody's, going through all kinds of woes right now. But I just don't want to deal with, all the obligations of being a dealer and, all the worries, the floor planning. Every year they would, you would have to buy new tools and equipment to keep updated with the new service technology on the new bikes.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to invest any more money into it since the bikes weren't selling, so it really wasn't worth my while to, keep on playing in that. And then I said, this is the time, for me to start focusing, like getting a restaurant together, And I was waiting on it for the economy to get a little bit stronger before I really got plunged into it. So after my divorce, we had to sell our house. So I took what monies I was left with and, reinvested it back into the building and the build out. So, right now I'm just at the point where getting my loan through so I can get this project finished up and get the store open.
It's gonna be amazing once it's done.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of thoughts, like when you're building something this unique and so off the wall that nobody else has, it's kind of like a museum in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's like to put a price on it, it's just a labor of love, it's just, it's all passion that drives me to do all this. I mean, like, my architect that was another story. I went through like 5 different architects and they just couldn't understand where I was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So I met this guy, Ryan Ramey, and, he understood what I was doing. We kind of hit it off. And, my thing was like when you design a business, the biggest thing about besides having character that this has is the flow of the people that are going to be walking through the door.
Yeah.
To make everything work efficiently so people aren't bumping into each other and, everything's got to taking place. So Ryan understood that where other architects had no clue. And not like I'm a restaurant guy, mm-hmm. but to me it's like common knowledge, but I guess it's not.
Well, it's because I remember reading that in this book I had to read for my marketing class in college. I know it's behavioral psychology or for economics, but a good example of that will be if you're walking to Target or Publix, subconsciously you always want to walk to the right. Then you circle around counterclockwise around the Target or Publix. So it's something similar to that, right?
Well, that's funny because every time I go into Publix, I go to the left.
Oh, okay, then.
But when I go to the lefties, I go to the right.
You go to the right.
Well, that's where the beer is.
That's where that beer is.
Yeah, whatever the place that you walk into, grab a beer and do your shopping. It's awesome.
Grab it.
Should be illegal.
No, there should be more restaurants like that or more places like that.
So yeah, back to Ryan. He's like the only architect that I talked to that he understood where I was coming from and I understood where he was coming from. So, we talked about the whole concept and, he says, well, I would just make a few changes here and there. And I go, I didn't even think about that. I said, yeah, that would work out nicer. So him and I have been working together now for 2 years and, and it's kind of good that it's taken this long because some of the changes that we've made,
mm-hmm.
The sense of flow of the people
and
the employees is going to be so much better. And because this building wasn't designed for a restaurant. It was designed for a motorcycle shop.
Yeah.
So converting it over to a restaurant, I mean, it's this, the rooms are just kind of awkward, but it all kind of works out the way, with his help and other people's help and my thoughts and, just figuring out how it's all going to work.
Well, like the way when you took me on a tour yesterday, I didn't think it was awkward. I think it was actually really interesting and very, what do you call it? Unique and, not eclectic, but, what's that word you call crazy rich people? Starts with E. Eccentric. Like, it's eccentric in a good way. Because walking around, you're showing me, like, okay, this is where the kitchen's going to go. This is where the upstairs bar, the conference room you're going to build over the kitchen that looks over, you can actually watch the cooks working. I'm like, man, this is going to be freaking amazing because...
the game room.
Like, because...
where the band's going to play over the bar.
Yeah. Well, and like I said earlier, for the people listening who's never been to Jacksonville, there's not a lot of personality here where it comes to like actually bars or clubs. Like most of it's generic.
Yep.
Once in a while, you find a good place that's like, okay, this is actually got something with character. And walking in here, like you saw me that tour, like, man, there's going to be a lot of character in here.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a lot.
Yeah, the biggest thing when I take people upstairs or into this section is, especially when they walk upstairs into the bar, they go like, man, this place is like homey. Like, I can hang out here. This is like, I feel comfortable. And they, it's got a good aura to it. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And, it's just a comfortable place, because it's not generic,
No, it's not.
Like I said, it's, I've taken a lot of my heart and soul and, put into it, so it's really all about passion, and, what I call my craziness, which is my artwork or stuff that pops in my head and I just throw it together. It's like right now, like today we had recovered some old bar stools that we took, our old motocross pants. I didn't even show you those yet. Mm-hmm. And we used those to cover over the bar stools that were all, shagged out. And then I took the frames that hold the bar stool, the base of the stool, where you put your feet, it has a rim that you put your feet on. Well, I took a motorcycle rim and we're bolting it up to where your normal foot rim is. So it's kind of like a revised motorcycle stool now, versus like the exhaust, ones that we built out of exhaust pipes and, rims. So,
yeah, I think, cause my phone's dying, I think tomorrow I'm going to come back before I publish the podcast, come in here, take some pictures and add it to the website. So that way people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, everything's kind of unique and it's kind of, it's fun. It's fun looking at, like, when I discuss it, like, with my son or, sometimes we have helpers in there helping us weld stuff together. They look at me and they don't quite understand what I mean, like, as far as, my design. So I draw it out and, like, I don't have time to weld. And that's, I'm a decent welder, but that's not my gig. I'd rather design things and do, run the business and get things going. So a lot of times I have to sit down there with them and, start cutting the metal and shaping it for them and saying this goes here and this goes there. And then finally the light bulb goes off in their head and they get it. But it's, like my son and I, like a lot of times we don't even talk to each other. Like we'll discuss something, what we're going to do. And that's it. We just have the discussion. Next thing we know, we're building whatever we're building, And if he wants to change the plan, like change the design of something, like, he says, hey, let's do this instead. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So that's kind of fun working with your son, that you're that close. Like when we go home and cook, it's kind of weird. Like sometimes we're driving home together and we're like, what do you want to have tonight? And I go, well, we got this in the refrigerator. We got, got beans, got rice, got this. And I got some fresh herbs. And I said, well, let's throw this combination together and do this. And so by the time we get home and we start prepping everything, we don't talk. It's weird. Like we just do our own thing together.
Yeah, it's in sync.
Yeah, and it's like insane. Same thing like when we're cleaning up, putting stuff away. It's like we just do our thing, and we're just it's just like we're communicating, but we're not. So it's kind of cool.
How old is your son? Because he looked pretty young.
He's 24.
24? Okay.
And I'm 64, so
40 years.
When I was 40.
He's your youngest?
My youngest, yeah. And then my daughter's 33, and then my oldest son he'll be 36 coming up in September.
Wow. Big family.
And then with him, I got 3 granddaughters. A pair of twins that are just a little over a year. And then the other granddaughter's just like 2.5 right now.
Ooh.
And then my daughter has an 8-year-old, which I get her next week for about 4 or 5 days before she goes back to school. And then she just had a baby that's probably 9 months old, another girl. So I got 5 granddaughters. No boys yet.
Oh, pretty.
And those 2 don't want to have any more kids. So I told Palmer, I said, you're the last hope.
Yeah, the last hope.
Right.
Someone needs to carry on the name.
Yeah. Well, my daughter retained our last name, Lynch, good. Which was pretty cool. So, But her new baby is Boyd, which is her husband's name. So.
Oh. Yeah. Sounds good if you hyphen it. Boyd Lynch or Lynch Boyd.
Yep. That's cool. Good stuff. Yeah, she's down by Melbourne area, which is beautiful down there. So I haven't seen her in probably about 4 months. So I get to see her next weekend. So that should be a lot of fun.
Oh. You going down there to visit her, or she's coming up here?
I'm going to go down there and meet her, and then I'm going to pick up my 8-year-old granddaughter, and then like I said, I have her for like 4 or 5 days.
Oh, that's nice.
Yep. Be fun hanging out with her. Like we do it every year, so.
She looks forward to it?
Oh, yeah. But, she loves the pool and loves swimming in the ocean, and that's one of my passions is like swimming.
Yeah, I did that before I came here. I did 30 minutes in the water. I usually wear a pair of fins and goggles and go half an hour.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, since I can't race motorcycles anymore, I get to swim.
You do something that still has a risk in it because you got sharks in the water.
Well, that's why they call it shark bites, because the sharks bite you and then they spit you out because you taste like shit. They don't want to eat a human. They're like, this guy tastes like crap, So, yeah, I mean, it's rare that you ever hear of a shark killing a person, especially like in the East Coast.
Yeah.
My fear would be like alligators.
Yeah. I think it's more if you're closer to the mouth of the St. Johns River.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no crocodiles out here. Those are saltwater. But, I don't know, alligators are freaky. Especially we got so many ponds and lakes out here.
Oh, yeah. I've swam with them before. Like,
really?
But if you're like in a group of people, usually they don't come after you. Or like water skiing.
Yeah.
Then water skiing, and you go down and you see this gator sitting on the bank.
Oh,
like,
man.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my God.
Get me out of here.
Those things are
but like
monsters.
A shark, when I was a kid, I used to surf all the time, and people at the beach, as the waves are breaking, you can see the sharks riding the waves, like inside the wave. Oh, yeah. And every now and then they would bump your legs, like when you're sitting on the board waiting for a wave, you'd feel a bump on your leg, and you'd look down and you see something big. And we knew they were sharks, but we knew that, if you're a surfer, you know that the sharks don't go around biting you. Like, they have no interest in you.
Yeah.
So, and people freak out. Like, people would be at the beach waving their arms and freaking out. We'd be waving back to them.
Waving back.
Right, like, hey, how you doing? They're like, there's sharks out there. We just wave like we can't hear them, And it's just hysterical.
Well, I have a longboard, a 9-foot one. And 2 years ago, I was at Mickler Beach. And I was just waiting on the board, just laying there. And I think it was like 10 feet. I just see the fin pop up out of nowhere, go in the water. I was like, all right, don't panic. I started swimming quite gently back to the shore. I was like, if you're going to bite something or if you're going to take something, take the leg and take the bad leg. I need my arms to take the leg. Take the bad knee.
we swim at night, like not like distance, but we go out there and catch waves, like, right when it's getting dark.
Yeah.
And like people like freak out, like that's sharks feeding time. I go, sharks feed all the time. Yeah, I mean, it's not like they just feed it in the evening. They'll feed at any moment,
I was told not to surf or swim at sunrise and sundown because that's when they feed the most.
Like this morning, I was up at 6 and I was in the water at 6:30 as I'm doing my freestyle. I was watching the sun come up. And to me, that's like the most ultimate thing. It's like in the morning when I'm swimming, it's like as the waves picking you up, the light's hitting, so the wave gets like really light color, like luminescent.
Yeah.
And then as the wave goes past you, then it gets dark again. So, like, you can count the sets. Like this morning, they were coming in about every 6-second sets. So, when I'm doing my breathing and, at certain times, I know when the wave's getting ready to hit, I'll look up into the water and you can see the sunlight glistening right through the wave, which is pretty fantastic to be out there in Mother Nature and swimming. And just, to me, it's just the ultimate awakening. What a way to start your day. So I'll do like some little bit of stretching, some yoga, and the first thing on the beach before I do my swim. And then I go out and do my swim. And every day is just awesome, out there. Even if it's like kind of trashy out there where the waves are like really choppy and, like people are like, you're going to go out in that? And I go, yeah, it's just, it's not a big deal, It's kind of when it gets really big, but that, when you have like big swells come in that are choppy, like it's really difficult to swim in that. So usually I'll go out and like do some like body surfing or just sit out there and bob up and down for a while just to get wet, and then I come back in. But, it's like about once a week I'll see porpoises out there. And every now and then you get to swim with them, like, but you can't keep up with them. Like about a month ago, I was swimming with a baby for about 10 yards. And that sucker was like, he was going real slow, but I couldn't keep up with him. But it's kind of cool. And last year, there's a manatee out there swimming, which was pretty neat. They don't run off. They just, they're like blubber out there. They just bob up and down. So I got real close to him or her, whatever it was. But it's fun being out in the ocean every day. It's I don't know. It's just it's beyond refreshing. It gets to your soul. And like at night when I go home, I might be like exhausted. I'll jump in the ocean and it just revives me. It's
feels
just
good.
The sensations of just being out there. I just get so much more energy, just from the ocean.
Yeah, I feel better after a swim too, especially after work.
Oh yeah,
it just feels amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like people just don't get it. Like every time I hear, "Aren't you afraid of sharks?" No.
Most of the time, they leave, like what you said, they'll leave you alone.
Yeah, and then the little fish are the ones that bump into you all the time usually. But like the last time I got hit by a fish was 2 years ago. And the time before that was like 5 or 6 years ago. So it rarely, I'm out there almost every day. It's rare that I get even hit by a fish.
Well, that fear of sharks, because statistically, you're more likely to get. I forgot. Oh man,
probably hit by lightning.
Yeah, more likely to get hit by lightning than a shark. And it said the reason why people have a big fear of sharks because of Jaws.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, before that movie, people weren't afraid of water. There were shark attacks, but they're really rare. Now after Jaws, people were freaking out.
Yeah, nobody was in the ocean for months.
Steven Spielberg.
The lifeguards were loving it.
What happened?
The beaches are deserted. But yeah, the ocean is just I don't know, it's so soothing and energizing at the same time. To me, it's like probably one of the best ways to meditate. Like sometimes I just go out there and just float. Just have, it's just awesome, I think. I like to go like down to like South Florida where my daughter lives because the water's like
clear.
That's really cool. We're here, it's so murky, but it's not a big deal. We go down to Fort Matanzas. I don't know if you know where that is. No. South of St. Augustine. There's an inlet, Matanzas Inlet. There's an old fort right there.
Okay, I think I haven't been there, but I think I know of it.
Yeah, you need to go down there because the water is like South Florida. It's like really clear. Well, the reason our water is so murky is from the St. Johns River.
Yeah.
If you ever if you're ever flying, you'll see the water as the tide's going out. It goes straight south. And if you go over the ferry, like you're going to Fernandina, and you get north of the St. Johns River, the water's like crystal clear almost. It's like the blue green. That's just instead of the murky. Yeah, it's really amazing. We used to camp up there at Fort Lynch. And then there's a couple other campgrounds like Huguenot Park. And the camping up there is just, the beaches are just really nice.
Man, I need to hit some of those places up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Florida's got a lot to offer.
Yeah. And
especially the bikinis.
Yeah, when I went for my swim before work. Well, I have this little thing like, I have a spot where I swim at. But I'll leave my sneakers and keys, my shirt there while I go into Warner. But every time, if I see a cute girl there, I'll ask them like, "Hey, can you wash my stuff while I'm swimming?" It hasn't worked yet, but they all say yes. But when I come back, like, "Oh, how's the swim?" and then they go back to sunbathing.
Yeah, my words would be like, "Look, I injured my back out there. Can you pick up my keys?"
I'm gonna try that tomorrow. I'll give that a try and see what happens.
Probably get slapped.
I'll try it. I'll try anything once to see what works. But you'd be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
Some might be into like, "Oh, yeah, I can pick up your keys."
Never know.
Never know.
I've had some cuties come in here before.
Bikers?
No, girls. Like, not. We don't get that many bikers in here. Like every now and then. I'm sure once we open, we'll have more of the biker scene. Like people. You know, I was going to call the restaurant A1A Biker Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I mention that to people, not every time, but some people like take a step back or look at me like, "A biker bar?" I'm like, "No, it's a motorcycle themed restaurant and bar." And I started thinking about it. I'm really not a biker because I don't like riding with other people.
Yeah.
Because they make me nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, I trust myself. I don't trust anybody else, especially on a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's my kid, which when we... That's another good story. When we rode the Ural from Redmond, Washington State to Yellowstone Park, and I was in the sidecar, and we're coming down the mountains, and he's doing like 85 miles an hour, taking these turns.
Oh,
and, you know,
my God.
My butt's puckered up, and it's like, you know, I'm like the monkey on a sidecar, and I'm like leaning into him and leaning out the other way just to keep the balance of the side hack. And he yells at me, you know, we're doing 85. He goes, "Stop that, man. You're messing me up." So like a little boy, I just sat there and kept my mouth shut. And we're flying through these turns. And me and I'm like, the first couple turns, I'm like, you know, just sitting there not doing anything. I'm like freaking out. And then I just realized that, hey, it's my kid. You know, he's got better senses than I have.
Yeah.
He's so much younger. He's actually a far better rider than I am. And so we're coming down the mountains. I finally relaxed. But he rode that thing just by himself, except for me sitting in the sidecar. He kicked me out once we hit Yellowstone Park after that, which was fine with me because it was in the middle of the summer. I get to ride in the Sprinter van that was air conditioned. But he rode that, you know, literally across the country solo, except for me sitting in the sidecar for that little bit. Which was pretty, and he was 21 at the time, so that was a pretty amazing feat. The other feat that really hit me is like, you know, as the years I was training him, and one time we were at PAX track and down in Bunnell, Florida, and he's on a 65, and we're hitting these, they call them tabletops. So the jump from where the jump starts and where you land is like 75 feet. And he's like, "Dad, how do you hit it?" I said, "Well, just follow me and keep up with my speed."
Mm-hmm. And
it said, "We'll hit it and you'll clear it." And he's like, I mean, he's probably like, I don't know, 10 on a 65 KTM. And we hit this jump, and I look to my right, and he's literally, I see the bottom of his tires. He's that much higher than me. Mm-hmm. And he's sailing. He looks over at me, and he's I can see him smiling through his helmet. And he's going so far that he's over jumping the jump. So you want to land on the down ramp so it's smooth transition. So when you hit the level spot, when the ground level's out, the bike will compress all the way down. You know, the suspension will compress a good bit. Well, he's going so fast that he flat lands it. I'm freaking out because I'm right beside him. I mean, he lands on flat ground, which is like terrible on your ankles, knees, the rest of your body, not to talk about the bike. And most people, when they flat land, the bike compresses so hard that they crash. I don't know how he kept it up, but he didn't crash, but he looked like a rag doll as he hit the bottom, and the whole bike bottomed out. his head and his helmet hit the front handlebars, like where the triple clamp is, and he bounced back up. And that's when most people just fly off the bike because it usually knocks the shit out of them. He holds on the bike and does the next jump, and then we pull over. I said, I don't know how you did that. He goes, yeah, I overjumped it. I said, yeah, how's everything? How's your body?
How's your body?
Yeah. He goes, yeah, Dad, everything's fine. I go, well, next time we hit that jump, don't follow me because you're scaring the shit out of me. So it was about 2 years after that, we're on 85s, and, you know, our main thing was always practicing motocross. And we raced a fair amount of motocross, but our big thing was racing through the trails, like hare scrambles. Because to me, that's a lot safer because the obstacles, like on a motocross track, are pretty devastating at some points. Because if you crash and you're in the air, or, you know, the turns aren't bad. It's mainly the big jumps. And if you don't clear the jump, you know, you're going to get hurt most of the times. And so I was always like pushing them, getting into this, you know, let's go race the woods racing because you get more saddle time. When you're motocrossing, you only get like 15, 20 minutes of practice, and then you have 2 motos that last maybe 12 minutes. And then your day's done, unless you sign up for more racing. When you race hare scrambles, or like an enduro, like a hare scramble is like a 2-hour event. And then you have a half an hour for a practice, or even longer if you want. So you get a lot more saddle time, and then it's a lot safer because you're not hitting all these crazy obstacles that are man-made. So one day it's like, you know, we're out on the motocross track, and, you know, and my thing is like, I would go up and bang into them, like literally side by side, hit them, like in a turn or whatever, you know, or like we're going down a straightaway, I'd put my handlebars or elbow into him. Because when you're racing, that's competition. People are going to be all over you. They're going to try to take you out just to win the race. So I would train with him and try to get him like out of his comfort zone and let him realize, like, hey, if you want to motocross, this shit's for real. You know, these younger kids aren't going to play. They're going to take you out. So you have to be the aggressor. You can't let them bully you around. So I used to bang into them every now and then, and, you know, and yeah, not to hurt them or anything, just to realize like, hey, this is
get them used to it.
Yeah, this is how it is. So we're at the track one day, and he's on his 85, and I think I was on a 252 stroke, and I'm coming. Both of us are side by side, but at this time, both of us are like equal riders. And we're going fast, and we come up to this left-hand turn, and it's like a big bank turn. There's a grandstand right there. It's a practice day. People are in the grandstands looking. Well, he comes on the inside of me and hits me, like just hits me hard. I literally go flying over the berm and crash. You know. He hit me that hard, just threw me off my balance. And my buddies are in the grandstands like, you better go get him back. You better take him out. And I go, dude, paybacks are hell. I said, I've been beating him up for, you know, the past couple of years. I said, you know. And that day, when I got back up, we started going at it again.
Yeah.
And I couldn't catch him. He was outriding me. And man, that was like devastating for me. To turn the reins over to my son. You know, it really hit me. Damn. You know, I was always, you know, teaching him and being better, and now now he's kicking my ass. So it took me a while to get over that. It's kind of weird because when you're riding with somebody and they just start out riding you.
Yeah.
Especially when they're like 13 or 14, you're like, damn, this is crazy. But, you know, all the years he's raced, he's only broken one bone. I mean, racing for 20 years.
Wow.
But he hyperextended his knee, and then he broke a bone in between his fingers and his wrist.
Oh, that's it?
And that's the only thing he's ever broken his entire life.
Wow.
Hyperextended knee and one bone. And he's had some good get-offs, which we got some great photos, you know. But, I mean, we all do that. But it's racing's a lot of fun. I just like to keep it on the safe edge and, like educate people. Like I was out there one day at the track and some kid, like he's in front of me and, I'm keeping my distance. Well, he hits the brakes and hangs a right into my front wheel. Well, my wheel folds and I go flying over the handlebars. And I get up and I start yelling at him. And the dad of the kid comes over and starts yelling at me. I said, look, dude, you're on the motocross track. You don't cut across the track, slow down and cut across it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other people out there. Just because he wants to say hi to his friend over there. So it's like a learning lesson for the kid and for me not to stay anywhere close to any kids anymore. Just stay far away from them. But, it's kind of like having, like courtesy on the track. Like when you're riding, especially on a closed course or circuit.
Yeah.
That you want to be aware of all the time where the other riders are. And some of these tracks aren't even safe because they have so many blind zones that you'll come flying over a jump. There could be a rider that's down that crashed on the backside of the jump and you land and you might land on them or right beside them because on a practice day they don't have a flagman there. So some of the tracks have what I call blind spots. So you can't see anything that's going beyond those jumps.
Yeah.
You try to follow the riders so you know who's out on the course. There might be 10 guys out there, and my thing is start trying to keep a scope of where everybody's at. So if I see someone that's not riding anymore, then I'm like really cautious about hitting the jumps because you might land and here's somebody laying there. And there's been a few fatalities that way where where people have crashed and you can't see them and other riders hit them. We've lost a couple of friends, from that.
Damn.
So it's kind of devastating. And that's like I said, like motocross is fun, but man, it's
dangerous.
It's too dangerous. Yeah.
Well, sorry about that. But all the good sports are.
Yeah.
All the fun sports are.
Yeah, we don't even do jet skis anymore because we try to kill each other. We realize that
motocross and jet skis.
Yeah, like dude, we get out on jet skis, and me and Palmer, like a couple times, we bought a couple of skis, came in on trade-ins, and we lived on the intercoastal, so we had boat hoist, so we just hoisted the skis in there, and just take off, and after about 3 or 4 weeks, we realized that now we got to get rid of these things because we can't ride these things because we're too aggressive. We want to, we think we're out on the track, and a couple of times we've hit each other because we're not, jet ski experts, and yeah, so we gave up skis. We don't do them anymore. Stick to 2 wheels only.
Stick to 2 wheels. All right, guys, it's on that time. Going to the Creston part.
Go for it.
Go for it. All right. Given the choice of anyone in the world from any time period, who would you want as a dinner guest and why?
Tesla.
Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, that guy's amazing. Just to see or just to hang out with him and feel his energy and all the stuff that guy's developed. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just what's going through his brain.
Have you ever heard that show, Drunk History?
No.
Well, like how you showed me that Wax video, which I'm going to download that guy's music.
Oh, yeah.
Wax. Go on YouTube and type in Drunk History, Edison and versus Tesla. And basically, it's a famous show now on Comedy Central that I think they've been going on for 6 years. But basically, they get comedians or actors or just regular people get them really drunk. All right, now you need to tell a story of history. And what was that comedian's name? Duncan Trussell. He gets drunk and tells the story of how Tesla and Edison had a little war with each other.
Oh,
and it's funny as shit. It was funny how, because then they get actors to actually act out what the guy's saying, the drunk guy's saying. So he's, I don't want to ruin it for you because there's a funny part in there. Well, if there's a burp, you see the actor actually act out the burp, like, ugh. What's funny as shit. What will constitute a perfect day for you?
A perfect day?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. To me, every day is like almost perfect.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Even though I don't have money to me, but to me, money is like a tool. It's not to me, money's not like a way of life. Enjoying each day when you wake up, when you go to bed, is like kind of like, the stuff I do here is like, I fix stuff for customers, but I also enjoy building what I'm doing. And then, to me in the future, I help out some people that need help that have no money.
Yeah.
And, to me, it's just about getting along with people in life. It's really not about the money. To me, it's like after I get this establishment going, I want to do a bunch of charity events. And to me, that's important, is like to give back to people and, reach out to people and help them. To me, that's more rewarding than anything. It's just living life and enjoying each day. Money to me means, like, to me, I don't worry about money. Like I said, you have to have it to pay your bills,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't sit there and get upset over it. I mean, when I was younger, I used to. That was my big thing, was making money. And then I realized, like life's more about your family and your friends. It's more of being content with yourself and just trying to be positive about everything in life.
That's a really...
Not be dwelling on negative stuff.
See, that's a really good way of looking at it, because someone in my position right now, I'm kind of worried about money. Yeah, it's kind of rough, but I just want to get to that point, like, where what you just said, like, where I'm just more grateful than anything.
Well, the other thing about money, the way I look at it, it's like, if you work hard and believe in what you're doing, like the past 30 years has been like this for me. It's like, like I said, I'm not really that concerned about money. I use it, like I said, as a tool to pay bills and to exist what you're doing. But, I've been through hard times, and when I have no money, when I need to pay a bill, I think about it, and then all of a sudden a job will come in, or I'll sell something, then I have the money to, make ends meet. And it's always been that way. Like, some days, like, I do get worried. I'm like, damn, man, I need to pay this bill, or something's coming up. I'm like totally broke.
Yeah.
And like, next thing I know, I bring in like $2,500 or $5,000, or, I have a couple good sales, and, then I pay all my bills. Everybody's happy. And it's just the flow of things, how it works. It's just kind of weird. I try not to worry about it. I really don't worry about it. It just, like I said, when I start thinking about it, money appears. It's kind of weird. I don't know what it is. It's.
Well, I think we all manifest what.
Yeah, that's true. We manifest.
I believe, like, to a certain extent, we manifest the good and the bad. You focus on one, you're going to somehow bring it into the world. Maybe not by magic, or superstition, but somehow your actions or something.
Yeah, it just happens. It's strange.
Sure.
No, like, women in that regard, it's like, sometimes you want to get rid of them, like my ex-wife. It's took forever. Or like trying to meet a girl, and you're like, you have these expectations, and then you think it's happening, and then it doesn't. Like, how come my karma's not working right now?
Oh, man, my karma sucks. Because my karma.
What's going on with this? So I laugh about that. Like, sometimes it's nice to have a relationship, but then again, it's nice not to have a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got like a semi-relationship right now, and I'm enjoying it, because there's like, I'm not tied down, plus I'm taking care of my mom.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get this building project, this restaurant going. So, I got a lot of things going on, but it keeps me mentally, I've got so much going on. Like, I don't even really think about worrying about or focusing on, like, having a steady girlfriend. You know, my thing is mainly like taking care of, like I said, you know, the things I need to, like my mom, take care of my bills, take care of myself. You know what I mean? Because if I'm not healthy, then I can't help anybody.
That's true.
My main goal is, like, you know, mental state of mind, physical state, you know, is, you know, eating right, all that stuff comes to play, and it makes you have more energy. You feel better about yourself. Yeah. You know, it's like my son, you know, he was going through some sorts of depression sometimes, you know, we'd discuss it. And, you know, I just, you know, he's like, yeah, I mean, all my buddies got money. And I go, well, you know, it's just a transition that we're going through. You know, I said, you know, you were still young. I said, when I was young, I had no money. You know, I mean, I lived from, you know, from race day to race day. And then once I got my business going, you know, I just sat there and just progressed at it, stayed, you know, I was confident in what I was doing, and I just worked hard every day, you know. In the evenings, I would enjoy my life, you know. It was just, you know, during the day at work, I'd enjoy my life. So I said, you have to enjoy what you do every day, you know, and you have to look at it as that aspect. Don't worry about what your friends have or what they're doing. Find out what you're content about, you know, what really makes you happy. Money's not going to make you happy.
That's true.
Or material things, you know, it's your mindset. Like,
well, to a certain degree, money helps with happiness, because if you're poor, it's harder to pay the bills and you're stressed. But once you make a certain amount of money, then you're good. But if you make too much money, I saw this study, like if you make too much money, then you're depressed again.
Right.
So there's like a happy medium, like, okay, you make enough to live by, and then you have to find something else to actually make yourself happy. But if you make too much, then you're worried about, okay, I need to buy this, not buy that. The whole materialism kicks in.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like if you buy a new car, you have a really nice car. To me, it's like, I'd rather drive an old car or an old motorcycle because I don't have to worry about scratching it or having it.
It look nicer. I think they look nicer.
Insurance. And to me, as long as it runs mechanically, it's sound. And it kind of fits my groove where I feel comfortable with it. Like motorcycles, especially, like one that fits you and you feel comfortable with it. Like, it's kind of like when I used to ride my bicycle every day for like 7 years. I rode to work every day.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I really got attached to my road bikes, and someone stole one. Dude, I'm telling you, for like 3 months, I was mourning that bike. I was missing it that bad because when you ride a bike, 300 miles a week, I mean, that's a lot of saddle time on a bicycle. And it's almost like you become a part of it.
Yeah.
And it's like when I ride my kid's electric motorcycle, that Zero, that thing's like phenomenal. Or if I get on my old Moto Guzzi, that's phenomenal, you know. And those two bikes, for street bikes, just fit me. And same thing like on dirt bikes. I get on some bikes, and just the way they're set up and the way they handle, it's like night and day, like from another bike. And that it's like when I was selling the gas dirt bikes, they're made in Spain. It's like it's a derivative of Bultaco, and that those bikes out handle anything. And when I became a KTM dealer, I was still racing the gas, which is a smaller company. The KTM guys are like, man, you have to race a KTM. I go, no, I don't. Because the KTMs don't handle as good as the gas. And then we just piss them off. So, and then I started racing KTMs, and then for like 4 years, and I went back to gas. And the day I went back, I was so much happier because the bikes just handle that much better. It's just the difference. So I'd sit there and try to educate customers because in their mind, they're like when we first started selling KTMs, they weren't that popular. They're just on the edge of becoming, the bike to have. Now I try to talk to people like, don't ride a Honda. Go test ride this bike.
Yeah.
Gas or KTM. It's 10 times the bike. So people, maybe 20 or 30% of the people would listen, and they would ride it and they go, yeah, and then they would buy one after they did a demo ride. But it's just getting people to stop being herded. They're so bombarded with advertising and what they think is a better.
To touch on that, like a few years ago, I owned a Ford Mustang. It was always been kind of like my dream to own a Mustang, and I bought the V6 model because it's like, one, I don't want to waste that much gas. Two, it's cheaper. I just want a Mustang. I just always wanted a Mustang, and I remember feeling kind of like feeling very self-conscious about the Mustang because all my friends were like, at first, like, oh, how come you never got the V8? You should get the V8. And then after a while, I started thinking about, like, man, you didn't fucking pay for this. I paid for this. I have my reasons for buying the V6. And I'm happy with what I got.
Yep. But people are so influenced by outsides instead of using their own train of thought or their own feelings or their experiences. And they get so wound up in what other people are thinking. It's just amazing. I tell people, just tune into yourself. Don't listen to anybody else.
Well, the thing is, you're the one who you wake up with in the morning and the one you fall asleep with at night. So you gotta please that person. You gotta go to bed with that person every night.
And it's amazing. That's why I call it herding, or like television to me is a friend of mine was a TV producer. And he goes, that's why we call it production. Is because that's not production. What's the word I'm thinking of? Programming. Mm-hmm. And he goes. I don't watch. He goes, I work in a TV. I run a TV operation. But he goes, I watch it every day. But it's all about programming. And I go, you mean programming people? And he just shakes his head up and down. He goes, yeah, because that's what they're doing. They're programming people.
Well, I kind of noticed it myself when I was watching the sitcom I used to like, How I Met Your Mother. They always had a laugh track. And I noticed I would laugh or giggle, or not a giggle, but a little laugh when they said a joke that wasn't even funny. I'm like, shit, I'm being trained by that fucking laugh track to laugh when it's something I don't think is funny.
Yeah, so the media's, it's just like people just listen to that stuff. And I'm like, man. Like my mom watches some of these programs and she'll record them. And then she hasn't done it in a while because she's 94 now. So when she was recording all this stuff, I said, this stuff is so negative, Mom. I said, you can't watch this. Even though she was in her 90s. Yeah. I said, it's still, it's ridiculous what these people are talking about. And then, the other thing is like politics. Like people get, that's another programming issue. People get so upset about politics. Who really cares? It's like we're going to make a difference of who's going to get elected. Seriously. Yeah. And they're going to do whatever they want to do. I mean, they have the power. They're going to do whatever they want to. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah, we could have another revolution. But that's about it.
Revolution, right. And then that next person takes over in power. What are they going to be like?
Well, the idea is like something else. It's like a stoic idea. It's like, don't think about the stuff that you can't control. If that's how you control, like politics, then why you gotta think about it?
Right, yeah, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's power to the people, and you can do demonstrations and make a little bit of difference, but they're just going to pacify you. Just like every president does. They're all the same. They pacify the people, keep them shut up, and then they're doing something else that's not even hitting the media. That they got their mind so focused on these diversions.
A distraction. Here you go.
Distractions that people can't even get down to the real business, what they're doing.
No, I think
it's just.
I think people still got the power. There's still change that happens when a small group of people get together. But it just takes a long time. And sometimes they don't get acknowledged. Well, I still believe in the whole idea, like, people could still make a big change in government. It's just. It takes time.
Well, I think it's awesome that all these women are running for positions right now, which I think is great.
Yeah, I'm not a big feminist idea because there's a lot of things I disagree with it, but I'm for like the whole women thing. Like, okay, if you're competent, to do it, and you actually are sincere about what you're doing, like, okay, we want to actually make a change to the government, then go ahead and do it.
Oh yeah, I'm all about it. Yeah, I think you know, either a man or a woman, it doesn't really matter. It's it's representing the people is what it really comes down to, and if they can represent their area, if it's a local politician or national, if they can represent the people what they want, I think that's empowering.
Yeah, I'm more likely to believe a new person coming in, especially a younger person. Even if I don't agree with the politics, I'm more likely to vote for them because they're like, I think they actually want to actually do something good.
Oh yeah,
like as long as they have that good mindset, as long as they're someone that's gonna compromise when it's good to compromise. Because I think that's what's kind of like wrong too. What's going on with the government? Like nobody wants to compromise, and like back in the day, that's how business was done. You guys came together and found a middle ground. It wasn't perfect, but it worked for both sides, and you don't see that anymore, which is sad.
Yeah, it's they got people all fucked up just thinking about politics and the division. I've got friends of mine that are just that's all they talk about. That's their life. It's just talking about Obama or Trump, and that's all they dwell on. Their whole life is just wrapped up in that. And I'm like, I said, there's life beyond politics.
Yeah. It's kind of like a sport. It's kind of like a baseball or football game for them. It's like, okay, this is the stats. This is who won. This is what this play.
Yeah, it's insane. Enjoy your life. Why be worried to have negative shit to talk about all day long?
Yeah.
Move on with your life. Don't dwell on that bullshit.
I think it's good, like, lost politics to kind of see where the tide's going, like, business-wise. Like, okay, well, I know, get ready for a recession if it happens again. I kind of see it coming, that kind of thing. But there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, all politicians, like I said, they'll pull the wool over your eyes as they're passing another bill or doing something else. I mean, that happens all the time. There's always a diversion, like we're talking about. And it's
a lot lately that's been happening.
I mean, it's just how they work. They just, like I said, people are like sheep. They're being herded, and they don't even realize it. Between the media, blowing everything up about the politicians, from advertising to what you eat, all the crap they're serving us, or passing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just...
Especially with the whole idea with the bread and sugar, high fructose corn syrup.
Well, everybody's getting fat because they're eating all this bullshit food, and then they have to go to the doctors, which is another business, the whole pharmaceutical to the hospital, the industries that they have just in the medical field. That's... they want to make you sick. So you go to the hospitals, and so that way you're I don't know what the word I would say. You're kind of like under their wing, and they're hurting you. If people were just to eat good, they wouldn't even get sick. Like if you eat just like people are always overweight. Like if you just ate green food, like raw veggies, because it still has all the enzymes in it that help digest your food.
Even frozen vegetables are still good for you.
Yeah, and you'll lose weight like overnight. Like you'll lose a pound a day just sticking to a raw diet.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying diet right now. It's the all-meat diet, the carnivore. I just want to try it for 2 weeks. And if it's good, if I feel healthy in 2 weeks, I see results, I'm going to continue it for a month. But I started Monday, and nothing too bad. I just feel a little tired. And
meat's going to slow you down because it's so hard to digest it. So I do mix. I mean, I used to do when I was training, like 7 years ago, when I was riding my bicycle all the time. I was consistently at 165 pounds, and I was trying to get down to like 155, and I couldn't do it. And then I realized I finally figured it out. I was doing some supplements, and I started losing a bit of weight, and then I gained it back. And then I started reading about these raw diets. And so I did some research and started reading on it. So I said, I'm going to try it out. not only did I feel better, but I was losing. I got down to my natural weight, which is like 150 pounds. That's where I'm at now. And usually in the winter, I gain a little bit of weight because I'm not exercising as much. But by just doing that raw diet for like 6 months, I mean, the lowest I went down to was like 145 pounds. But I feel more comfortable at 150. So with my, my exercise routine and everything now, I eat basically whatever I want. I drink, 2 or 3 draft beers a night, sometimes I don't drink at all, but it's like I can eat anything. I don't do it in abundance, but I watch what I eat. I always try to eat fresh food, I eat meat like maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and I have small portions. And then I'm not a big chicken guy, but I like fish. But yeah, I mean, maintaining my weight, I don't even think about it anymore. I'm always at, 150 pounds, 152, 148 pounds. I'm always right in that area for the past 7 years.
The happy area.
Started that green raw diet, or I should say raw diet, not green, but raw veggies. And you feel so much better and you have so much more energy. And anytime I know when I'm starting to feel like I'm losing my energy, that's when I realize I'm eating too much meat. And if I go back to my raw diet and, I start picking up my energy level starts coming up and, everything just seems a little bit better. But like I said, I mix right now. So mainly my diet's kind of like a Mediterranean diet.
Fats, like good fats and, nuts and...
Yeah, nuts and olive oil, olives,
olives.
I love olives.
I was thinking not tonight, but tomorrow I'm going to buy some scallops. I've been thinking about scallops lately, man. Cook them in some butter, put them on a frying pan. It's going to sound good. It's going to taste good.
Yeah, I throw garlic and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Like every meal, not at least once a day, I've got something with garlic in it, just about.
I love garlic. It's healthy for you. It tastes good.
Oh, yeah, man. It's awesome to cook with or raw, I got to throw it in salads, or every now and then I haven't lately been eating that much kale, but normally I make a kale salad or make a kale smoothie.
Yeah.
And I'll throw a couple cloves of garlic in there on the smoothie.
And give it a little spice.
A nice bite.
Yeah.
That or throw some ginger in there also.
I love ginger.
Yeah. But I do that ginger tea with that sencha tea that I made that you were asking me about.
Yeah.
So that's just honey, ginger, the sencha tea, and lemon. And, people say, what are you drinking? I go, well, here, try it. They go, man, this shit's great. And they go, you need to start making that. I go, well, yeah, I do make it, but I'm not going to make it to sell it, It's just,
not yet, till the restaurant opens.
Oh, yeah, but that's so healthy for you, versus sodas or any type of beverage that you buy on the shelf.
Yeah, last year I tried the keto diet, and I used to drink a lot of sodas beforehand, but ever since I did that diet, I don't drink sodas as I used to. Very rarely do I drink sodas. Every once in a while I have a craving for ginger ale, I'll drink it. Or if I want a nice little mixed drink, I make myself a ginger beer with some either apple pie moonshine or a gin.
That sounds like fun.
It's delicious, but I just don't have the need to drink soda every day. I know if I drink it 2 days in a row, I feel sick.
Yeah, when I was in high school, our football coach drilled it into us about how bad sodas were. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, I rarely ever drink a soda. Maybe when I was younger, I'd have a mixed drink. Like a rum and coke. That would be about it. But nowadays, it's rare. My one neighbor makes us rum and cokes. Oh, so he buys the Coca-Colas that have the real sugar in it, like the Cuban cokes.
Oh, the cane sugar?
Yeah. So I had one a couple nights ago. I helped him fix his car.
It's a nice little refreshing cocktail. All right. Let's see.
Now for another generic question.
Yep. because I gotta go to this list. I'm trying to do it to everyone. Do you have a secret hunch how on the way you'll die?
On the way I'll die?
Yeah.
Hopefully in the ocean. And then I want to, throw my ashes if I get cremated. I'd rather just, if I die, I'd rather die, swimming and just float out to sea and let the fish eat me. And they're going to say, this guy tastes like shit.
Just spit you back
out. They're going to find my remains somewhere.
Only a few bites and it's like, oh, then they eat him.
So, when I was in my 30s, I had somebody calling me, and, I'm like a prankster on the phone when salespeople calling. This guy's selling, funeral plots and cremations and all that. And so my wife's listening to me, and I'm talking to this guy, and we're going on and on. And I said, yeah, I said, I'm Catholic. A lot of Catholics don't want to be cremated, or I was Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'd like to get cremated. And when I'm cremated, I want to have half of my ashes, and I want to be flown over the 24-hour speedway of Daytona.
Yeah.
And I want to throw my ashes out during the race. So as my ashes fall down to the ground, the intake manifolds of the car suck me up, and I give the car another boost to go faster, and it gets spit out the exhaust, and then I'm really burning. And the guy's just my wife's looking at me. She goes, "Who are you talking to?" And the guy's on the other end of the phone, I didn't know what to say. He finally hung up on me.
So I actually started thinking about it, man, that's actually a pretty cool way to have your ashes spread out.
Yeah. So, but if I think if I ever want to die, because I think it's probably the Viking in me and the Irish, because our family's from the coast.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, I always have this connection with the ocean or water. I've always lived on the water most of my life. So, hopefully I can just float out to sea and no one will know that I'm out there.
Sure.
And that'd be a nice way to go.
Pleasant way to go.
Yep. Yeah, no one has to bury me.
No. The fish will do the work.
And then I'm being recycled.
Recycled water. Refurbished. You become the next... Somebody's going to eat you if you think about it.
Yeah, there you go.
What do you call it? Some salmon is going to come over there, take a bite of you, eat you, then some guy's going to eat that salmon.
Yeah, hopefully I get a shark bite.
Get a shark bite. Oh man, this tastes like shit.
Yeah.
Alright. What if anything is too serious to be joked about?
That's a good one. I would probably say people that, personal feelings, not to joke about that to me is, just...
Like vindictive stuff?
Right. Just, people are in a different mental state of mind, you don't need to be harping on them or, not joking about it, take them serious.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. You don't want that cliche saying of, you don't want to kick someone when they're down.
Well, it's funny that you say that. I had these Mexican guys living. I had an RV at our house that didn't run, so down in Palm Valley. So this one Mexican guy lived there for about a year, and we were talking about, people in Mexico, about beggars and stuff, and he goes, there's in Mexico, there's only you only live your life one way, and that's to live it and not to be down. So when we see a Mexican that's begging on the streets or somebody that's really asking for help, we kick them and beat the shit out of them and see if they come back up fighting. If they come back up fighting, then we know they have the will to live and sustain, and then we help them.
Shit, really?
And he goes, yeah, they just lay there like a dead dog, and then they just keep on beating on them.
Fuck.
And I said, so you're beating the sense into them or what? And he just started laughing. But I just thought that was kind of a crazy analogy about how to treat people, when they're down. And, I thought about it man, that's, in one respect, it's if they're going to come back up fighting,
Then help them out.
Yeah, then help them out. So,
well, it's like who will you likely to help out if you see someone on the side of the road, or someone who's standing by their car, or somebody's pushing their car by himself? You're gonna help out the person that's pushing the car because they're trying to help themselves.
Being a mechanic, they have the hood open. If I'm not in a hurry going somewhere, I'll pull over and ask them what the problem is and give them some advice or fix their car if it's something simple. I've done that in the past. But yeah, more than likely if they have the hood up, being a mechanical background, it's kind of like my thing. But nowadays, like people with cell phones, if they're sitting on the side of the road, they usually have help coming.
Well, I just meant that as like an analogy, but
but back in the day when we didn't have cell phones, try to explain that to kids.
Well, I remember that. I remember when it's actually nicer, more focused on something else, on anything else besides a little black box in your hand.
I remember one time I was picking my buddy up at the airport, and I was getting on the on-ramp up at US 1 South and coming up to Jacksonville. I was getting on 95, and I'm taking this right-hand sweeper, and I had this old Mercedes 220 diesel, and I'm hauling ass around the turn, and my left rear tire blows out. Well, the car, I'm like halfway through the turn, goes completely sideways. Then I'm driving backwards, doing probably 50 miles an hour, and I've got no control of the car because I'm just drifting at this point. Then I go into the grass, go down the embankment, and at the very bottom of the embankment is like, it's kind of muddy. Well, the car just rolls on its side and just sits there. And I just bought like a beer and didn't even have it cracked open, but I had it between my legs. And I'm like, I can't believe this shit. And the car literally just sat there running on the side because the diesel will run upside down. So I shut it off, stand on the passenger window and crank my door window open. And I climb out the window and I'm sitting on top of the car. Crack my beer, and all of a sudden a state trooper pulls up. So I put my beer down. Trooper goes, "Are you okay?" I go, "Yeah, I just, had a flat and the car slid out, and here I am." He goes, "Okay." And he drives off. Back then there was no phones.
Yeah.
I had to walk like 2 miles and because I waited there for an hour. I figured the cop's going to call somebody.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, probably about an hour. No one shows up. So I walk over there and call one of my buddies up to pull me out of the ditch.
Oh my god.
Yes. Are you okay? Yeah, fine.
It's freaking assholes. Alright, what conspiracy theories do you believe in?
Which ones?
Yeah, do you believe in any conspiracy theory or?
Well, we mentioned Tesla earlier. And
Tesla.
There's a bunch of people that have been, wiped off the face of the earth because they didn't agree with other policies or, people and that shit just happens every day, So, yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy. There's some of the ones I think are pretty far-fetched. So, I kind of like, I'm not into conspiracies. I look at them and I'm like, that's something I don't want to really worry about or, think about every day. It's like thinking about politicians. Like, yeah, if you're gonna invent something and someone doesn't like you, and it's it's gonna make a bunch of money and they're gonna lose money, yeah. If it's a huge corporation and you keep on broadcasting it, yeah, something's gonna happen to you or your family or whatever. But yeah, I believe that stuff happens because it's all about greed. That's the main thing is why people end up not being alive anymore.
Well, I kind of look at a good example of that today is Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm surprised he's still alive.
Yeah, and he's doing some like revolutionary shit.
Yeah, he is.
Like very revolutionary. It's like, man, what? I'm gonna make spaceflight not only cheaper, but we're gonna use the rockets and they're gonna land themselves on a floating dock. That's drone.
We're gonna fly them out of NASA.
Now I'm gonna take the car I made and send it to space.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. When was the first time you fell in love, and how did it happen?
I think I was 5 years old.
Oh, really?
And my mom caught me in the bed with my girlfriend with the sheets over us, and we were making out.
5 years old?
Yeah. But,
Is that 5 years old?
yeah, 5 years old. I think my, in high school I had quite a few girlfriends because we lived in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. There was an Army War Barracks.
Mm-hmm.
So every year we would get like what we would call like a new crop of people coming in. So we'd always hang out at the teen club, and it was kind of nice because, you'd have a girlfriend for a year because most of the military people were stationed there for 1 or 2 years, unless they were a professor, and then they would be there for like 5 years, and then they would move on to another destination. So that was always kind of interesting. And so my junior year, I had a girlfriend that we were really tight. So that was probably my first real true love. And we went to college together, and she wanted to get married and have kids, and I wasn't ready for that. And she goes, "Look, I'll be a doctor, and you don't have to work. I'll take care of everything."
I'll be a doctor.
She goes, "I just want to have a baby." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, that could work, but,
Cool.
I don't know if I want to be raising kids at, 22 years old and stuff like that, or even 21.
I'll be a doctor.
Or 19. I guess I was 19, yeah. And I said, kind of bailed on her. And she ended up, ditching me and found a guy that looked like me, because that's what, I never met the guy, but her brother and I were really close. We're all going to NC State and Chapel Hill. Up to school, I was going to University of Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of devastating when she broke up with me. That took me probably about 6 months to 8 months, maybe a year to get over. It was just kind of hard. And then, it's kind of funny because you meet people in life, and there's, some people just leave like a big impression. Then you have these 2 other women I met, which was quite a, almost like a euphoria, crazy situation. Like, we would be standing beside each other and not even touching each other, but just knowing it. I mean, just feeling each other, almost having an orgasm. Literally being beside them, which is really crazy. I had this one gal, Andrea, who she was married, and her husband was real rich.
Mm-hmm.
So she started fooling around on her husband, and I got set up with a date with her, and she goes, "Whatever you do, don't fall in love with me, because then I'm going to leave you."
Yeah.
So I said, okay, and we had fun for probably about a year, and we had this bond that was just crazy. I could not help but fall in love with her. So I told her a couple times that I told her I was really, falling in love with her. And then the next thing I know, she splits. So I didn't see her for it was probably 5 years. And I'd bought a house in North Beach, north of St. Augustine.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the blue, she shows up out of nowhere.
What?
I don't know how she found me, but she comes in, and we hung out for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it was crazy. And our energy level, we would be shaking, not even beside each other. And I go, "Do you feel that?" She goes, "Yeah." I go, "This is too weird." She goes, "Yeah, it's really crazy." And we would feel this tingling sensation, both of us, through our whole body.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only experienced that with one other woman, which is just it's crazy, it's just, just the energy level. I've never had anything like that happen.
No, I never felt that before.
Yeah, it's crazy to have it with one person, and you have the same thing with another person. And both these women are travelers. They're the ones living in Andrea. I have no clue where she is. She followed some rich guy to someplace in Northern California. It was she showed me photos of it. It's in a bay front, and they were in this house on top of the mountains overlooking the bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy stuff. I'm that's the direction she was going. And the other gal's very humble. She's a what do they call it? She teaches it's a business
Consulting?
it's like therapy for their employees. So when their employees are having
Crisis
coaching,
manager? Yeah.
yeah, so she does coaching and she's very good at it. But she had lived in Australia for years, and then she'd be back here in the States. Her and I hooked up about 5 years ago when I was going through my divorce, and that was like, we had met like 4 times in the same situation, that it was just like this, and our energy level was just like crazy.
I think I had something similar with that. I used to work for Disney Cruise Lines. I don't want to mention her name, but she was a Romanian, very pretty Romanian girl. We never had sex, but a few times when we actually hit, because our schedules were off, and the few times when we actually spent time together was really nice. We'll just make out, sleep together, but it's worth it.
Oh yeah.
We'll just at that point, it's like, man, this is just nice. I felt good.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I think I'm gonna message her after this. I'm like, hey, how's things going?
Where are you at right now?
Where are you at? All right, let's keep this moving. Okay, this is kind of like a 2-in-1 question. What is the most embarrassing moment and most terrifying moment in your life?
Yeah, I don't even think about stuff like that.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
It's again, terrifying is the one gal I was telling you about. She had married a guy so he'd get his green card,
Mm-hmm.
and this is way before I got married, and this guy ended up burning. I went up to visit her because this guy was threatening her and me. So she moved back to New York, and when I was up there visiting her in New York, he burnt my building, my business down. I was renting a place, burned the second floor down. So I came back. A week later, my dog's missing. And then about a month later, he used to go out with my roommate, Jenny. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and we had the gas stove, and the pilot light was off, and we always slept with the windows up. And I know he snuck in the house, pulled the windows down, and then turned the pilot light off and turned the gas on the burners wide open.
The fuck?
Yeah, that was pretty terrifying.
The fuck, man? God.
So at the time, my brother-in-law was a federal attorney.
Ooh.
So he was visited the next day by some FBI
He was
agents.
visited.
And that guy was like out of town within like 24 hours. He's gone.
The FBI.
I don't think the FBI ran him out of time. I think the FBI probably
Scared him.
fear of God in him because he was a foreigner. And he kind of vacated pretty quick, and that's the last I heard of him.
What was he anyway?
Pardon?
What was he? Like
German.
Oh.
Yeah, crazy.
Really?
Yeah, crazy German. Yeah.
For some reason I was thinking Albanian. When you said that, I was like, in my mind, Albanian for some reason.
Yeah, this guy was pretty out there. And then my friend, the girl I was going out with, Renee, when I saw her 5 years ago, she goes, Hannes called me. And she goes, did you give him my phone number? I'm like, fuck no. I said, the guy about killed both of us, I said, no. I said, she goes, it's weird. He called me, and she talked to him for about a minute, and she said immediately she just hung up. She goes, I don't need to communicate with you. But that's kind of weird because I hadn't seen her in over 25 years. I just ran across her. It's kind of weird.
I don't know. Some people are just fucked up.
Yep.
Just fucked up, and you can't deal with them at all. Alright. Alright, what are your deepest held beliefs? So spiritual beliefs, God, anything like that.
Well, I was raised Catholic, so the nuns used to beat the shit out of me, Not that bad, but they...
Yeah, I was raised Catholic too.
They'd straighten me out, but, the older I got, even when I was young, I'd listen to, they go, if you don't believe in God or Jesus, you're going to go to hell. And so, then you're learning about, Buddhism and Hinduism and all this other religions. And they're
beautiful religions.
And I'm thinking, all these people are going to go to hell. So as a little kid, that was like a question in my mind. It's like, there's more Buddhists out there than there are Catholics.
That makes
hell's
sense.
going to be filled up by the time I get old. And no one's going to be allowed in, So I'm thinking, this doesn't sound right as a little kid.
Yeah.
So that was always like a question mark. It's like, why put the fear of God into everybody when there's so many other religions out there? So it kind of made me, open my senses to like, I think religion is good for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people need it because they need, that type of direction. I guess the best way to put it. To me, I'm more spiritual. I think everybody, no matter what religion you are, as long as it's, you're doing people good, you're not harming people, even though they might be harming them psychologically, by putting the fear of God in them. So I'm more of a spiritual type of person. I think if it helps people, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But, some of the churches, I don't agree with what they're doing in their indoctrinations of, of their their services they have. But
yeah, you see that a lot out here in the South.
Yeah, but I think if it's helping people and they're doing good, and I think that's great that people need it. But for me, I'm more spiritual. To me, it's more like I kind of like an outdoors person going with Mother Nature and just the feelings of the earth. It's like, to me, I like to get my feet in the sand every day.
Have you ever did mushrooms?
Mushrooms?
Yeah.
Not that many times. I've done them like 3 or 4 times.
I started doing them last year. I only do it like once every few months. But every time I did, like I had like a spiritual experience. And I always had to find myself outside. Like, okay, I have to go to a park or I have to go in a backyard.
Yep.
There's something spiritual about it. Like, oh man, I just need to be with nature.
Oh yeah. Yeah, mushrooms are good things. I got a buddy of mine that goes out to Burning Man every year.
I went there last year.
Oh, did you?
I tell everyone, I wrote an article on my website about it. I think everyone once in a lifetime should go to Burning Man. Just to check it out, because like it is something I've never experienced before, and it was wonderful. It was amazing. It was fun. The people were freaking fun, man. It was awesome.
My buddy James, he does all the stages for him.
Really?
So he has a portable stage business, so he travels all over the world sometimes, but he goes out there every year and sets up the stages. And this past year they did this, or last year they did this, a van or like a semi with had over 100 big screen TVs, and as you walk by it, it would do a projection of you, like a silhouette of you walking by, and it would make you bigger or smaller or turn you like, I forgot what he said, but it would just, he said it was a hit of the Burning Man.
I saw that at a distance. I wasn't up close to it, but I remember seeing it in the distance. Like, man, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. But they won, whatever goofy award they got, or, it's pretty badass.
I was kind of like taken away with like a lot of stages, the camps that were built, the trailers and trucks that were built. Like, it was a lot of ingenuity and art going into it. And I remember helping one guy out with his truck. He just needed some help putting up some lanterns. But his truck, they converted from an old ice cream truck into a double-decker truck you go around Burning Man in.
Nice.
And they said that truck's been 12 years old. They've been coming there for 15 years. And at 12 years old, they had that truck. They've been coming every year, just making it a little bit better each time. But they said they can't come to Burning Man without it because it became a staple.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, everyone says I need to go out there, I said, you fit that. like, you can build something. I said, well, let me finish this project first.
You would love it. Only thing I suggest is that bring more water than you think you need. Bring more stuff with electrolytes in it, so beef jerky, nuts. Bring a lot of that because of the heat, the desert heat.
Because it's so dry out there, you dehydrate so quickly.
And vinegar, because vinegar, I found out. Fortunately, it didn't happen to my feet, but they said because the playa is the desert we're in, or the dry lake bed. It gives you a bad foot fungus, so the vinegar counteracts that. But I didn't bring it, and I didn't need it for some reason. I was fine, but they recommend bringing vinegar.
Some kombucha.
I love kombucha.
That's basically vinegar.
Really? I love drinking that shit. It's some of my favorite shit. I love it. Okay. What's one thing that you're proud of, but never had an excuse to talk about it? Like it just never came up.
That I'm proud of, but never comes up.
Yeah.
I guess my pork chops.
Yeah.
My lamb chops.
Your lamb chops. I love a good lamb chop.
I have no clue. Sometimes I just don't think of things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm proud of my kids and all that, but I talk about them, but every parent is. Kind of like building this is kind of cool.
It's really cool.
Just, it's kind of like a part of me. I don't think I really brag about it too much. I like giving my little tours and showing it to people. But
I think it's something you should be bragging about, because once it's done, it's going to be like an amazing spot in Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
I truly believe, because it's really original. And Jacksonville is really missing that. Something with original.
Yeah, it's not store bought.
That's not store bought. It's not.
Yeah, I don't buy shit on Amazon.
Well, it's not. It's not only that, but it's kind of like they're trying to stick to a certain recipe or certain type of equation. Like, well, if I want to open up a Mexican bar, then we need to have this and this and this. Instead of okay, I want to open up a Mexican themed bar, but I want to have authentic stuff from Mexico or true Mexican food.
The originalities.
Yeah. It's and I think it's going to be a big deal once it's done, because it's actually really original.
Yeah, now I just got to get someone to run it for me.
You find people to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, but you'll probably have people knocking on your door with resumes once it's done.
Oh, yeah. Or you got people come up to me man, I want to work here. I go, yeah, I bet you do.
Not yet. Wait till it's open. Wait till you actually see the final product. All right. What is your most treasured memory?
Being born.
Remember that?
Maybe if I was a born-again Christian, I was reborn now.
Or you one of those born-again Christian girls, oh yeah, I'm a virgin again. Yeah, that's not how it works. That's not how it works.
That's a good question. I mean, I've been through a lot of different experiences through my life, but probably like I was explaining before about having that energy with those two women in my life in the past time. I've never had that again. I mean, it's just that was such a crazy, emotional, and almost out of body experience, almost, and not being high on anything, not doing any drugs, any pot or anything, just being natural.
Just being in the moment.
That was pretty crazy. I mean, I don't think about it all the time, but when I do mention it or think about things that have happened in my life, to experience that, which I know I try to explain it to people, and I've only met a handful of people that have ever experienced anything like that.
Yeah, I never heard of anything like that.
Yeah, your whole body's shaking. It's just crazy. It's the one girl, Renee, like I said, 5 years ago, we're down in Melbourne and we're standing on the intercoastal, and we're just, the wind's blowing in our hair, and the birds are flying, and fish are jumping out of the intercoastal. And we just looked at each other, just smiled, and I go, "Do you feel that?" And she goes, "Yeah." I go, and then we talked about it later, 15 minutes later. I said, "Were you shaking?" She goes, "I don't know what came over me, but my whole body was shaking. I was like in a utopia." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I felt it was just crazy." And that's happened with us quite a few times, of being close to somebody and around somebody, which is just like, I was never that way with my wife, even though I loved my wife at the time, but to have that type of energy and share that with somebody is just, I don't know, it's remarkable.
It's rare.
Yeah. Very, yeah. Like I said, well, I feel fortunate that I've had to experience it twice, which is cool. But where are these two girls now? It's just like, that would be the ultimate relationship, to be able to share that with somebody for the rest of your life, to have that type of energy. But then you wouldn't get any work done or do anything. You just sit there and radiate all day.
I think if you get that energy from that person, I think they're not going to interfere with what you really want to do with your life. They're just going to be there, amplifying. What they're going to do is just amplify it.
Yep.
Not hold you back. Like, all right, let's make this bigger for you. Make it feel a lot better. Man. All right. Second to last question. If you knew you were going to die in 1 year, would you change anything about the way you're living, and why?
I mean, that's a deep question. I mean, I've had doctors put the fear of God in me like that, saying that you only had, if you don't do this surgery, you're not going to live. I got prostate cancer, and the more I did research on it, I realized it wasn't as severe as they were talking. They just want to do the procedures on me.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time in my life, I was doing like a lot of, soul searching and stuff. And, the thing that I really came up with when I was thinking about that was just to, number one, for me to be happy, and people around me to make them happy, just not to, my thoughts is like not to tell anybody that you're going to die in the next 6 months or next year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, try to plan things, so everything that you, when you do leave, that, you have all your arrangements done, that you're not burdening anybody, and that's what I had thought about in the past, when I was thinking like, shit, I might not make it through here.
Shit. It's pretty deep.
Oh, yeah. And then I realized that the doctors were full of shit, and I started reading up on it. And, that's what I started doing, dosing with CBDs and THC, and my levels went almost down to zero, and the doctor didn't believe in it. He's trying to tell me I still need to have my prostate removed.
Has it gotten worse, or is it still
it just stays stable. Like,
oh,
yeah. The one oncologist I had was really cool. He's like, he's like, from men, there's like 20, I think he said, I don't remember the exact figures, but from 19 years old until you're about 80, every man, not 80% of men have some form of prostate cancer.
Huh.
Yeah, but it doesn't, it's so minute, it doesn't really show up. And when your levels do elevate, he was giving me the percentages on those, and he goes like, if your levels start increasing and going up and up and up and don't come back down, they're constantly on the upswing, then you need to do something. But he goes, otherwise, he goes, just live your life and just, watch what you eat, exercise, do that thing. And none of those doctors know anything about, well, the weed things kind of knew anyways about healing. That's another conspiracy thing,
Yeah, that's...
So, I went back to his office and I said, yeah, I've been dosing. And he just looked at me really weird. And I said, yeah, all my levels will go down. He literally said, I can't see you anymore. I go, what do you mean?
God.
I said, you kicking me out of your office? He goes, well, you just can't be a patient of mine anymore. If you're going to, so you're telling me, the marijuana or the THC and CBDs are healing me, but you don't want to recognize it. And my levels have dropped down to almost to a PSA level of a 2. He says, well, I just don't believe in it. So you don't believe in stuff that works.
You don't believe
you want
in
to
facts.
you want to either remove my prostate or have me have chemotherapy and have radiation and kill myself.
Or you could take a plant. You could take a
So that
plant.
makes a lot of sense. Just so you can make your wife's Mercedes payment. So I said, yeah. I said, dude, you need to wake up. But, that's the way they're trained. The AMA's got them,
Yeah.
their mindset. It's like, they're like sheep. They're in the program.
That and politically, too, how they're probably raised politically. I don't know, but I think hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years that it's legal fairly.
It'd be nice. It's like, they got that ad now on the radio and television.
The lawyers?
About smoke, get high and get busted.
Yeah.
Or smoke weed or get burned or whatever and get busted. It's like, when you've been drinking alcohol, like if I drink alcohol, if I have like 2 beers, like IPAs,
Mm-hmm.
and I ride my motorcycle, I am damn sure more aggressive and speeding more than I am if I smoke some weed.
Yeah.
If I smoke some weed, I'm all mellow. I don't speed.
It's like, whoa,
I'm
whoa.
enjoying the ride. I'm not doing anything stupid.
Well,
And you get drunk, you do stupid shit.
well,
You get in fights.
yeah.
You get aggravated.
Well, I remember
You have a hangover.
that too. I treat alcohol. I treat marijuana like alcohol. Like I don't drive when I'm doing it. I don't work when I'm doing it. It's just my way of doing it. I'll use it just to relax or help me with my writing. Or help me if I got like a bad injury. It's like, man, I need to smoke a little weed. But the one time I did drive high, I know it's like I was not paranoid but more aware. I was like, no, I need to stay the speed limit. I need to watch who's around me.
Yeah, like, it's 55 miles an hour and you're doing 35.
Like, oh, I don't want to get pulled over.
You're going to cause an accident by, you're going to back up some traffic maybe. But, like, you're not going to run somebody over or, drive off the road like my dad did when he got his DUI.
Ugh.
But he didn't hurt anybody. But, so many accidents on alcohol versus weed, it's not even...
Well, there was a study by an English doctor. He did a survey of all the drugs in the world and how they negatively affect society by legal, like arrest, violence, economics, the black market, medically, how like affects the human body. Marijuana was one of the lowest on the risk. Right, I think mushrooms was the lowest on the list. Alcohol was number 1.
Yep.
Then I think cocaine.
It's number 2.
It was number 2. I think it was cocaine or heroin. I believe it was heroin. For number 1, alcohol. Second was heroin.
Yeah, no shit. It's totally legal.
It's totally illegal.
Right. Doesn't make any sense. Talk about a conspiracy. It's all
Yeah.
about the money.
It's all.
It's all about the greed.
Yeah.
That's why I say I don't worry about money because it's just, to me, it's just a tool, not, people that just worry about it and run their whole lives around it. They're never happy. They're not enjoying life. We're fortunate that we live here at at the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
We live in the mountains. Like you have something that's beautiful out there to enjoy it. It just brings yourself, to like a utopia or happiness where you're physically and mentally a better off person.
Well, it's like
you're not being polluted. Like I don't watch television because to me it's just pollution.
Yeah.
I sit down there and watch shows with my mom and hang out with her, but normally I've got a book in my hand or I've got my iPad and I'm reading something while she's watching television. I hang out with her and talk to her,
Well, let's give her the company.
Right. So.
Well, also the thing is too, we gotta be grateful has to be actually being born in America, because a bunch of different countries, and they're nice and all, but like we get a lot of freedoms here that we take it for granted, and it's like, despite what you see in the news and the politics, we still live in like really good country. Oh, yeah. And the whole idea about the American dream, American dream was never about owning a car or a big house. It was, you want to do something, even if you were born in a freaking ghetto from a bad family, that you're in a foster home, you could still become someone. You could still become whoever you want to be, and that's the American dream right there. Not owning shit, but like becoming the person you always wanted to see yourself be.
Yeah. Owning commodities, which everybody's hung up on nowadays. Like I said, it's like, I like repurposing things. To me, it's like, there's so much waste, but that's probably all over the world, but there's a lot of people that don't have the things, so they have to repurpose things. It's kind of crazy. But you you look at Elon Musk, and then you look at his brother. I don't know if you know what he's doing.
No.
He's setting up these in the inner cities. He's setting up aquaponics and hydroponic farming inside lower income inner cities with projects.
Yeah.
And he's, that's his gig. That's what he's doing, which is pretty amazing.
What is that exactly? Like the aquaponics?
Aquaponics is when it's kind of like you have a bunch of fish. And then the fish shit is basically fertilizer, and it's like hydroponics, but you take, that's feeding all the plant life, the nutriments. So all the nutriments that come off the plant as it drains down feeds the fish. So it's like a self-contained ecosystem. It's look it up. It's pretty amazing.
I'm going to look that up after we're done with this.
It's, but you still have to keep your pH levels right, for the fish and everything. But, it's a well-balanced ecosystem. So you don't need to be using any chemicals. Is the main thing. It's just do it all naturally. And, people are setting up, that's harder to maintain than just doing hydroponics, but it's kind of like a new thing that's coming in that people do it all over the world now. I mean, that's what we want to do here in the back is, do some hydroponics on our properties. But we want to put up, I want to put up pallet rack and go vertical. And then I've been looking in like these different types of netting, like screening to keep the bugs out. But you would still have airflow, so it's not totally contained, that you can do it outside.
Like a big mosquito net.
Yep. And that way you keep all your, insects and all your other stuff out. They got our other buddy, Skip, he makes beehives down in Switzerland, Florida. He makes them all out of like either pine wood, but he really likes selling people the cypress because the cypress wood would never rot. But it's a little bit more expensive. But and the woods that he uses are like, he won't use treated wood because then the bees are carrying the treated wood on their what do they call it, pheromones or whatever.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Antennae.
What it is, that's beyond me, but it said it's contaminated honey. So there's so much stuff out there when you get into like trying to do everything naturally. Like, when they use honey for medicine, that people are allergic to stuff, they grow it, like, I think I was reading about it was out in Arizona, out in the deserts, where there's no humans out there, so nothing can get, contaminated by the honey. So that's what they use for like surgical honey for some reason. I forgot what I was reading.
I remember hearing that, or not hearing, but reading somewhere that honey was being used for that. Certain wounds you have, it's like a good antiseptic.
Remember. I read so much shit half the time, my memory's like...
Yeah, I remember something about that. But no, honey's good for you either way, so that's a healthy food.
Yeah, I try to get all my honey from like local bee farmers, in that way. Because if you taste the stuff that you get from the store, that's, mass produced. It might have sugar in it. You don't know. And then you taste like a local farmer's honey.
Oh.
It's like night and day difference. And then you have like all, everybody says that, if you're allergic to, like pine pollen, people have, sinus problems for months, different pollens are falling around. So you get the honey from pollinated pine trees, and that builds up your immune system so you don't have all these allergies.
No shit.
Yep.
Man. Pot and honey. The two wonderful food groups right there.
And it's healthy.
It's healthy, it's natural.
All kinds of stuff.
Our ancestors did it.
Yeah, look at my mom. She's 94, still kicking. My other friend, her grandmother's getting ready to turn 101 next weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't want to live that long. Just throw me out in the ocean.
Like, I know it's not so much the years. Like, I still want to be moving around. I don't want to be confined.
Right. And
like,
mentally
stable.
Right.
Well, like a lot of people that are becoming 100 right now, and going to the hundreds, because there's more of a growth in that population. A lot of them are actually pretty healthy. They got to 100 for a good reason. That they still they still exercise. I remember watching one woman on a bike. She still bikes every day. She looks like she was 60. She was like 100. Another one still does like yoga, and it's what they eat too.
Yeah, I was reading an article about, Monsanto is like contaminating everything, but like people like my mom that grew up on a farm, as they're growing up through their childhood, they're getting all these natural enzymes and food that's all natural, and I forgot how they were talking about how it generates your mind, your body, and they're more healthier people than people that are born, in the 60s when our food was, being messed with like through
chemistry,
all that, genetics.
Well, that wasn't.
What's it for plants?
HGO, no.
Well, whatever. But anyways, they just said now
modified.
Now people they don't expect their survival rate to be as high as like that people of my mother's era.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? We're going to find out. It's like my brother passed away when he was 62, and my sister passed away at 67. Her husband passed away at, I think he was 68 or 69.
Shit.
And then my uncle just passed away. He was 89 or almost 90.
Well, you never know. You just gotta be grateful for the days you have.
Yep. I just figure when I go, I'm gonna go.
Just go. It's like we're all gonna find out what's on the other side.
Yeah, I just gotta outlive my mom.
Outlive my mom. Like your job is done.
Yeah. I gotta take care of her. Take care of mom.
Okay, the last question. This is like a 2-part question. What is the worst thing you have ever done, and what is the best thing you ever done with your life? Or in your life?
The worst thing I ever did in my life was probably get married. And the best thing I ever did was probably get my divorce. I was so happy.
Why was it so bad?
Oh, she's just cheating on me, and she just...
Oh, fuck.
I never knew when she was telling the truth. So... seriously, it was that bad. So, after my divorce, I ran across a couple of her friends, and they were talking about her. And I go, why didn't you warn me about her before I got married? They go, dude, you were so in love with that woman, we couldn't tell you shit. And both women that were friends at the time told me that. And damn, you should have just hit me over the head. But, that was pretty devastating, that you put your life into somebody and try to believe in them after they, not only cheating but lying to you, stealing money from me. I had her working here at the business, and kind of made a joke about it. Like I had her as my bookkeeper because she worked for a couple of companies doing that, and I would say 2 for Robin, 1 for Kurt. 2 for Robin,
God.
1 for Kurt. And it's like I get bill payers or collectors calling me, which I never had that, and they're like, "Hey, Mr. Lynch, you're 2 months behind on your bill." And I look over at my wife because her desk were right beside each other. "Didn't you pay that?" She goes, "Oh yeah." She looks it up. That's check number, 1182. I go, "Yeah." She, "Well, we haven't received it, Mr. Lynch. Could you send us another check?" I said, "Hey, can you send them a check?" And that went on for about 6 months, and then I started investigating, going through the checkbook, and I was looking at our checking account and where she was taking out cash out of the account,
Yeah.
and going into her bank, and then not paying the bills. So I had to fire my wife.
Ugh.
So that was probably, that was a bad judgment call on me, not, marrying her before really, clearing my head and thinking about what I'm about ready to get into.
How long did you know her before you get married?
Like a year.
Really?
I was like 32. And I just figured, I need to settle down before I get too much older.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like in my mindset at the time that, hey, I need to get, have children and do all this. And the other women I had been with had, moved away, like that one and or the 2. And then I just thought that she was the one, and I should have taken more time with her,
Shit. Well, I made this. Ooh, I nearly made the same mistake. Fell in love with her fast, but it wasn't years. Like within a month, I thought we're talking about marriage. I bought the ring, and yeah, she ended up being a very terrible person, very cruel and cold. But
a lot of times you don't see that because you're so blind.
yeah,
that can't happen to me. I had warning signs, but I ignored them.
yeah, that's what love does. They they blind you.
Now, if I get in a relationship, my radar's out, a lot more than when I was young, so when I go out with certain people and I'm like, why did they do that? Or why are they doing this? Or what do they mean by that? So, I look at them as, in a different way than I did when I was younger, I'm more subjective.
Wiser about it. Like, yeah,
So,
let me take a moment and think about who you are. Like, actually try to figure out who you are as a person.
yeah, not rush into anything.
Yep. All right, Kurt. Thank you for this interview. We're at 2 hours and 38 minutes.
That's good.
That's a good interview. I'm really happy about this interview. The last one I had was with a homeless woman because I wanted to do a piece on a homeless woman. That was crazy. That was a crazy interview. I actually got pulled over by the police because the deal was I went to I can't name the homeless shelter, but it's the one here in Jacksonville Beach. I went over there and they could help me out to a certain extent. It's like I could go to the side of the building when they're having the dinner time and ask them if anyone wanted to do an interview. So that's what I did. And one guy came up and was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." But I'm like, "Man, this guy looks nuts." And the woman's like, "Okay, she looks less crazy." So it took her 15 minutes to get in the car. Because she's like, "I need to feel comfortable." She kept undoing her pants and sit down. It's like, "No, my leg." And I'm like, "Man, this is freaking nuts." And when I actually got in the car, we went to the library because I told her, "All right, we're going to the library. I'll rent a conference room in there. We'll do the interview in there. And afterwards, I'll buy you dinner at McDonald's or something to thank you." So she was manic, like hell when we were talking. And she stops halfway during the interview. She's like, "Listen, I gotta take a shit." She farted first, I gotta take a shit. She goes, takes a shit. She's gone for 20 minutes. I thought she left me. Then she walks inside. We finished the interview. And I went to take her, like, keep my end of the deal. Like, okay, we're going to take you to McDonald's or something, and, to thank you for this. Took her another 15 minutes to get in the car, and then she takes off her shirt. It's like, I need to feel comfortable. I'm like, what the fuck you doing? Put on your shirt. Put your shirt back on. And there was a woman sitting outside the library, and she's seeing all this. She calls the police, and as soon as I pulled out the car, I pulled my car out, the parking spot, I saw her face. Like, I knew it. She freaking called the police. As I was pulling out of the parking lot to go into the street, the main street, a cop came in the parking lot and came in right behind me. I just told the lady, like, hey, whatever happens, stay calm. Tell the truth. Nothing bad's going to happen. The cops pulled me over. I explained what was going on. They talked to the freaking woman. She's fucking nuts. They just want to make sure I wasn't kidnapping her or doing anything illegal with her. But they saw how nuts she was. Then they pulled me out of the car. I'm like, hey, here's the deal. Here's my business card. I'm doing an interview. I'm just taking her. The interview's over. You can go to the library. We're across the street from the library. You can go talk to the librarian that I was in there, the conference room, doing an interview. It's like, okay, I just want to make sure, like, because a woman that called the police on you thought you were a serial killer picking up this homeless woman. And then when he read the card, the name of the podcast is A Taboo Life. He read it, it's like, wait a minute, are you into, like, hobo porn? And this is why you're picking her up? Like, nah, that's it. Alright, well, thanks, Kurt.
Oh, yeah, man.
This was fun, and we'll end it here.
Alright, guys. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. I'm very, very happy how this episode came out. Not like last week with the homeless woman where it was kind of insane what was going on. Go check out the website, ataboolife.com. Click on the podcast link and click on this episode where you can take a look at some of the pictures of his work. I am a big fan of nice bars. For example, my favorite bar in the entire United States is the Patterson House in Nashville, Tennessee. Go Volunteer State. Oh, I think I messed that up, but I love Nashville, I love Tennessee, and I love the Patterson House. To me, that is one of my favorite bars I've ever been to. But I really have a good feeling about his bar. Once it's done, I think it's going to be a big deal in Jacksonville, specifically Jack's Beach, because Jacksonville is not very original with their bars or restaurants. Everything's kind of generic here. So hopefully that'll bring some more culture to our humble city. Again, check out our website, ataboolife.com. Check out other podcast episodes, articles I've written, and short stories and some books. And some poems, because I am that sappy. Alright, guys. Tune in next week. Hope you guys have a great week, and have a good life.